Hello everyone and welcome to day 2 of the Tata Steel Chess India Rapid. Day 1 was absolutely action-packed. What a thriller, and we're expecting more of that on day 2. I'm International Master Tanya Sachdev. Alongside me, as always, my very good friend, Grandmaster Sahaj Grover. Sahaj, yesterday was fantastic, an absolute thriller. One, have you recovered, and what was the highlight for you?
Again, I think it's still going to be Divya. Her match against Harika, I think, was absolutely to watch. But I think on a more serious note, Vishy's comeback, I think, was absolutely amazing. Defeating Wesley with the white pieces on the first round, and then Arvind again, and now he's one of the leaders.
You talk about a comeback. For me, it all started with the arrival of the players. You know, the swag that they had getting into the Dhano Dhanyo auditorium. There we see, this was from yesterday, as we see the best international and national players there. Vishy Anand, the legend, arriving into the playing arena there. Pragg, Nihal, last-minute replacement to Gukesh, but he's expected to do incredibly well in the blitz. And there you have it, Divya. You were talking about her matchup against Harika, and I love that shot. Wow. This is Arvind and the players having such a great times ahead.
Absolutely, and look at the intensity of Vishy, Pragg, all of these players, so focused on their matches. And that's Carissa Yip, Volodar, so many strong chess players are here fighting it out. It's amazing to see it.
The emotions were high, the chess was brilliant, there were hits, there were misses, there were opportunities which were seized, and handshakes with celebration on one side and heartbreak on the other, and that left us with two leaders at the top. And the chess as well, you know, you talk about the emotions of the game, but Sah had such incredible high-class chess with only a 15 plus 10 in rapid as well.
Absolutely, and this is why I think my prediction for today is that Wesley lost his first match against Vishy, and he has won both of his games after that. I think he is the one who's going to be the leader at the end of day 2.
That's a hot take by Sahaj. I'm also expecting an Arjun Erigaisi comeback. We've got a big day 2 lined up ahead. You know, we played the replay button on all the action from yesterday, and we got our very own Rakesh on the ground setting the stage for day 2.
Welcome to day 2 of the Tata Steel Chess India Rapid and Blitz. Here we are in the open section actually, so maybe one of these players, we can see them go to the next stage and play on the main stage that we have for the main event. Let's talk about what happened on day 1. So we had Vishy Anand, the legend, and Hans Niemann both lead with 2.5 out of 3 points. They're playing really well, but best part is they are going to face off in round 5 today. It's going to be Vishy versus Arjun, and then Vishy versus Hans. That is going to be the featured match. Let's see which player is going to lead at the end of round 2. But more importantly, chat, we have a giveaway for you guys. So you have to take part in the giveaway, and Tanya Sachdev and Sahaj Grover will tell you all about it. Super exciting games coming up. I'm going to be rooting for an Indian to be leading at the end of day 2. Let's go back to you guys in the studio.
Shout out to Rakesh Bhai for that amazing walkthrough of the venue. Sahaj, I have to say, I mean, just seeing that open section in action, and we'll get to that giveaway that he just gave away in that video. But just that walkthrough through that open section was amazing to watch, and talking about amazing things. Chad, here's the big surprise for all of you. There is the diamond membership of Chess.com to be won, and some very, very cool Tata Steel Chess India special merch. We'll show you all of that. All you have to do is tell us your favorite player without telling us your favorite player. You can tweet to us, use the hashtag TSCI2026. You can even have that up on our YouTube, our Twitch chat. Tell us your favorite player from Tata Steel Chess India without telling us your favorite player, and we'll feature you on the show. We'll pick a winner at the end of the day, Sahaj and I, and you'll win some very cool merch and the diamond membership. I actually love that giveaway.
Now I'm thinking about how do I say my favorite player without saying my favorite player. It's actually a very fun exercise.
It is, and I get as creative as you guys want. You know, the more creative you are, the crazier your answers are, the better shot you have to win the prize there. And we'll keep checking in on that. With Sahaj, again, talking about what Rakesh said, that big round 5 clash. It's going to be Hans versus Vishy. Hans will play with the white pieces. But of course, before that, we've got a whole round coming up. What are you most excited about today?
I think right now for this round, absolutely it has to be the match between Vishy and Arjun, because, okay, we have two players from India who have achieved a medal in the World Rapid and Blitz, and now they're playing for the first time against each other since that has happened. So for sure, that is a highlight for me. And I think Vishy has a pretty interesting day. I would say pretty difficult day ahead of him because he's playing Arjun, Hans, and then he's playing another World Rapid champion as well. So I would love to keep a close eye on how Vishy is going to do today.
I think a lot of fans have also been rooting for Vishy, just seeing him back in action. What a day one he had. And, playing players here half his age. And he had a dominating performance yesterday, starting with a win, a second round draw against Wei Yi, and finishing the day on a high with another win against Arvind. And it's awesome to see Vishy back in so much shape, without any rustiness. And a lot of that goes back to the December that he's had, playing the Jerusalem Masters, where in fact Vishy and Arjun played the finals together. And it was Arjun who won that finals. But Vishy, what a performance he had. He knocked out Jan Nepomniachtchi. Then as well, his showing at the Global Chess League. And I think that explains the form that we're seeing Vishy in.
It's really interesting because he had a match against Arjun and then he had a match against Gukesh in the Global Chess League as well. So now he's back to playing against Arjun, and it's always fun when these two, I think, play against each other because they're very close when it comes to their style. But, it's Vishy. It's Vishy. Come on.
It is Vishy Anand who's at the top right now, along with Hans Niemann. But in the women, you've got one player. You've got Carissa Yip. She's only 22. She's the 5-time US champion who does lead the field. And that's where we stand going into round 4. We'll adjust that at the top right there. These are the standings after round 3, in fact, with Vishy and Hans at the top. And there we see right behind, you mentioned a name that you're looking at a big comeback from, Wesley So. Actually, he had a one-move blunder against Vishy yesterday, and right after that, 2 back-to-back wins. So I'm going to say he already made that comeback.
Absolutely, and I think today he's playing against 3 Indians back-to-back, and I think he's because he has already made a comeback of sorts. I think there's going to be nothing that stops him. Yeah, for me, Wesley So is the guy to watch in the open section.
And it's also closely contested in the women's section after day 1. You've got Carissa Yip with 2.5 out of 3. And then you've got 3 players, 3 big contenders, Nana Dzagnidze, Kateryna Lagno, and Vantika Agrawal, all led to one name that I'm going to point out who impressed me was Rakshita. Rakshita making her debut here at the Tata Steel Chess India. It's her first time here playing in Kolkata. She had 3 solid draws against very high-rated opponents, so undefeated so far.
I think she's had a spectacular performance, and yeah, for me, Rakshita is definitely someone to watch. But I think we should also root for the girl from our city, Vantika Agrawal. I think she's already one of the leaders in going into day 2, and I think she has a pretty interesting pairing because guess what, Tanya? She plays Rakshita Ravi today.
That's going to be a fun fight. Let's bring up our pairings of round 4 going into action. It's just a few moments away. The players are already walking into the hall, and this is where we start. It's going to be Wesley taking on Vidit. You've got Pragg against Volodar. Nihal versus Hans. That one I'm super excited about, Sahaj. I think Nihal had some missed opportunities yesterday. Hans wasn't even missing a single opportunity yesterday.
Yes, he won his last match with some 12 minutes on the clock, which was absolutely ridiculous. So Hans is here to make a point, and yeah, this will be an absolutely absolute treat to watch. And then we have Vishy playing against Arjun, which for me is an absolute highlight because the guru plays against the student, which is I think going to be a lot of fun. And then we have Wei Yi playing against Arvind Chithambaram, and Wei Yi's, I think you can never count him out of anywhere.
There you have it, Sahaj pointing out the headliner of that, Vishy Anand taking on Arjun Erigaisi. Arjun with a 1 out of 3 from yesterday, a last round win is what got him on the scoreboard. Vishy, meanwhile, with a fantastic day 1. Is this the day that Arjun makes his comeback? He's won the Tata Steel Chess India Rapid before, but it has been, well, an unhappy start for the boy from Warangal. Let's also move on to our women pairing before we get to the action there, and we start the day with Aleksandra Goryachkina taking on Lagno. We've got Harika versus Vaishali, and that's a matchup that I'm excited to watch. It's always fascinating to see these two fight. And then we've got the ceremonial moves, and that's little Anish Sarkar, I believe, who's making the first move for Vishy. What a moment this is.
No ways. I met him last year as well. He's grown so much, and he plays e4 as his first move. That's so cute.
He is the youngest ever player to have a FIDE rating, all of 3 when he got that rating. What a moment this is. And I think this is what is inspirational as we've got the first moves coming in. It starts with the King's Pawn opening. You know, we saw the open tournament being played. Anish there on the stage with Vishy and Arjun. This is what inspires. And one day we might see Anish as one of the players right here.
Oh, it is definitely possible for sure. And yeah, there we have liftoff. Vishy, I think, is the only player that I know who goes for the Spanish opening. Yeah, he almost never plays Italian. I noticed this in GCL, in the Jerusalem Masters as well. And he always goes for the Bishop B5 variation, which is quite interesting to me, Tanya, because all the other top players usually switch between Italian and Spanish. Yeah.
Very nice observation there. And Vishy sticking to something that's been a classic in his repertoire.
Well, I mean, he lived in Spain.
Yes,
So
you know, that could be part of the reason. Homage to the city that he was in. And so far, I was going to say traditional theory, but D3 is not one of the most played moves in the position. You want to often keep the idea of pushing the C pawn and the D pawn all the way up to the 4th rank as flexible as possible. This one a slower approach.
yeah, and also usually you play D3 because you want to avoid black from taking on E4 and going into the open Spanish. But this is clearly some prep by Vishy against Arjun, and looks like both of them are blitzing their moves out. I'm really curious who's going to start thinking first here, because no one is stopping.
You know, Vishy was the lightning kid of the 80s, right? Back then, faster formats was not as popular as it is today. But he was flamboyant, he was naturally quick, and that's what gave him the moniker. And I was wondering that if we had to ask him to sort of pass on that lightning kid to one of the Indian golden generation, I think Arjun would be a massive candidate for that.
100%. I think it has to be Arjun or Nihal. I think one of those players, I think, has to sort of get that title after Vishy. But yeah, he goes Bishop E6. Tanya, what's happening here? Can we go Knight D5?
And I want to ask Chat that question. I want to ask Chat, if there was a lightning kid, you know, of 2026 from this golden generation that we see, Chat, tell us, who do you think would be the one for whom the crown would be placed on?
I think it has to be, for me, it has to be between these two players. Maybe Pragg as well, but Pragg is very universal, you know, for me. He can, he's a fast player, but he's not just, he's not known for that, at least to me. So yeah, for me, it's between Arjun and Nihal. But yeah, chat, do let us know. What are your thoughts?
And Saj, meanwhile, your question's been answered. Vishy is the first to think after the bishop being challenged, the light squared bishop. He takes out the other one. Very often, the fight in this position is for the d5 square. That is the main point here. So white, that was not a mouse slip, that was a technical glitch. Arjun did go castle. I was just about to say that white often gives up the bishop for the knight to gain control of that key outpost at the center.
And we will see it in the next move by Vishy as he goes knight d5. And by the way, both players seemingly are playing really fast, but look at the clock. Arjun has not thought for a single second so far. And look at that move, c4.
Okay, this has to be some kind of a preparation, I want to say, but is it? It almost looks like a fresh position to me. The speed with which Arjun played c4, do you think it's a position that he's seen at home?
100%, 100%. He wouldn't play this quickly, but okay, this is what Arjun does. He goes into a seemingly dry position and then he, creates an imbalance out of nowhere, and he will know it better because he has looked at it before. And before you know it, there is a 2-minute difference already between these two players, which is massive already. So Vishy is the first one to think here. I believe Arjun has won the opening battle, but of course the game continues.
But it's already a very fun fight, the position we have. We have the imbalances, there's a bishop pair for Arjun. Meanwhile, Vishy's other bishop has been blocked by c4. Arjun with more time on the clock than what he started with. He's threatening to take that knight on d5 and further block that diagonal. Vishy trades, making sure that bishop takes knight is met by a piece capture, not a pawn capture.
Yeah, great observation there. And now we have double bishop versus double knights. But the problem is that white has this very sort of powerful knight on d5. And he takes on f6. I think the first inaccuracy, at least according to the bar from what I can see, b4 was a better move there. But okay, that seems inhuman. And look, 3 moves ago, this was a very normal, Spanish position. If I can just go back to that moment, like just look at this. In this position, it feels like, okay, it's going to be a long game. It's going to be a long drawn out, technical game. And within 3 moves, okay, what has happened?
It looks like anything but a Spanish, but a Royal Lopez that we've got. I mean, this is such a non-standard position out of it. Arjun is saying, I don't care about my king side. Vishy is saying, you know what, I am coming for it. That knight will plant itself on f5, queen f3 to follow, put a rook on d1, knight on f5. I'm kind of liking white's position, and there I saw our feature chat as well saying that, you know, the crown of the lightning kid will retire with Vishy Anand.
Oh, I think that's pretty sweet. I agree with that.
I second that. So that's a +2 from us on that. But Arjun, yes, he's still ahead on the clock. But that's also one of the things that's been impressive about Vishy here. You know, yesterday, coming into action, he was the player who had more time on the clock than any of his opponents. Once again, half his age.
Yes, and the fact that he's able to keep up in this time format is insane. Not just keep up, he's actually leading the event. But this match is not going to be easy. As I can see, Arjun can push d5 here and completely blow the center. And with that, the position becomes extremely dynamic. Even rook b8 looks kind of interesting here for black, and played. Wow.
Great call there, attacking that b2 pawn right now. And do you also have to keep in mind a move like c3, just giving up that pawn, sacrificing it to again just destroy the left flank of the board. I think it's a very dynamic position, one for all three results here can be fought for. Speaking of tournament leaders, Sahaj, a good moment to check in with Hans Niemann. How impressive was he yesterday? You know, showing up with the swag, with a fresh haircut on the board, wins his first round, saves the second one, ends the day with, I have to say, outclassing Praggnanandhaa in game 3.
Having 12 minutes when you finish the match in a rapid game, where you start off with 15 minutes is definitely a statement. And yeah, I mean, I think for him, his day was very, I would say, you can't expect more in just one day, because you won all of your games with the white pieces and you drew with the black pieces. That's basically a perfect day for any chess player in that sense. And this is the current position right now between Nihal and Hans. Looks like both of them have taken a bit of time in the opening. Nihal has gone bishop b2 as his final move. Maybe he wants to go knight e5 and f4 and maybe create some attacking chances on the king side. And Hans has a difficult decision here to make. Where to put this knight? Should I put it on d7, c6 or a6? All of them look kind of interesting to me.
You know, having played these positions a little bit with the black pieces, one of the ideas that I would always be watching out for is to try to get my knight to b4, to hit that bishop. Also keeping the flexibility of pawn takes pawn at the center to open up the lines, give white that hanging pawn to look for counterplay against the ideas that you mentioned, like knight e5, like f4. I would be very tempted to put my knight on c6 currently. Threatening knight b4 and also eyeing pawn takes pawn and the d4 spot in certain positions.
You know, I think it's just a question of whether you're okay with allowing pawn takes. It actually goes for knight c6 here, because I was thinking knight a6 might be, I don't know, I feel a bit more comfortable with it because the bishop is open. But knight c6 I think serves the same purpose, and you're not allowing me to play knight e5 at the same time. So I think a good move by Hans.
And if white was to neutralize the tension in the center, black will get that isolated queen's pawn. You capture back with the pieces and you're a happy camper on the d file if pawn takes pawn was to happen. Nihal keeps the tension for now, moves the rook to e1. This one a slow development, I think. And right behind them, we've got Vidit versus Wesley. I also want to shout out to Vidit. I think yesterday he had a solid day one, sitting at 2 out of 3 right now, just like Wesley. So this one a very critical clash for both of them given the leaderboard.
Absolutely, and I mean, Vidit had almost a dream start for any event. Yeah, beating Arjun with the black pieces in rapid itself. I mean, that's a statement for sure. And now he plays against Wesley. Both of them extremely solid players, and you know, we have an endgame in front of us. Wesley having this kingside majority with the pawn on e5, and black having double bishops as compensation. Now, I think optically I will choose white here, but I know this.
Sorry, Saj, I don't mean to interrupt, but that bar on the Praggnanandhaa Volodar Murzin board, what is going on with that?
Let's take a quick look and see what happened.
Just got adjusted. Just got adjusted.
Oh, I think this is pretty... This is another Caro Khan. Wait. We have Murzin playing Caro Khan as well. That is true.
Were you going to say another normal position? Because there's a black rook on h6. That's anything but standard.
Yeah, absolutely. And where is this king going to go? You're not going to go long castle for sure. And you're not going to keep it on e8. So difficult situation for Murzin here. Pragg, I think the bar does justice to Pragg's position. I do like his chances a lot here. As he goes c3, preempting the c5 break and already solidifying his structure in the center. And it's difficult for Murzin to make moves here.
All right, I just got excited there seeing the bar go completely crazy at the bottom of the board. Let's go back to the Hans board. You were making a point there, Sehaj. And I think we've also got some moves coming in.
Ah, look at this. Hans played knight b4, your move, Tanya, and now Nihal has retreated with bishop e2. And if
we get the players on the camera as well. Hans did go for the idea.
Yeah, and the problem is that, we were thinking, why not bishop f1 in this position? And the problem with that is, if you played bishop f1, black would most likely go pawn takes pawn, and at some point take on f3. And you would want to capture back with your queen, and that would leave the pawn on d4 hanging. Now, I'm not saying it's possible right now, but it is possible at some point in the position. And this is why Nihal plays bishop e2, which kind of looks weird at first because you're blocking your own rook. And the bishop kind of looks undeveloped in this place.
And he does go for pawn takes pawn regardless. I do like how you explained the difference between the bishop retreating squares there. And this is what we call in chess the hanging pawns, right? The d4 c4 structure that white has, and it's a very combative one. It's all about trying to get one of these pawns to move forward for black at the wrong time and for white at the right moment.
Yes.
And whoever wins that battle is the one who ends up with an advantage. Hans will keep putting pressure. Did you see a bit of that stare coming in from Hans? He's like, hey Nihal, I'm quite happy with my position with the black pieces. What have you got with white here?
Exactly. I think this is a perfect example of how a game can be 3 results. Anyone can win here. I think all results are 33% likely. So I think from Hans's perspective, I like his chances. But okay, this is Nihal, so anything is possible.
Very, very tricky, especially as the clock ticks low. Nihal Sarin, an absolute beast when it comes to those scrambles. We'll check back in with this. Let's do a quick tour with Tata Steel Chess India Women, because in that one, we've got a leader. And there we've got Dr. Suho saying chess speaks for itself. I have to say that so far in Kolkata, it has been speaking for itself, for a certain Hans Niemann.
Yes, chess has been speaking with the white pieces with a win.
It's been screaming.
Yeah, with black, they have been very solid. So chess has spoken a lot on the first day. But let's see how day 2 and day 3 goes for Hans. And there we have the women's section. We have Goryachkina versus Lagno. I think 2 very, very experienced players. And for me, one of the favorites in this event, because both Goryachkina and Lagno are known for their faster skills. What's going on here? Optically, I feel Goryachkina is better because you've got the knight on f5. Black has this sort of bad pawn on d6, and you have the spin on the queen as well. But the bar says it's equal, and that confuses me.
I've always hated playing a position where I have to deal with my opponent's knight on f5. Knight on f5 and we live. You know, it's exactly where you want it. It starts looking scary. Also notice how the white queen is ready to jump on to the attack with f3, g3 squares available to it. I do like Goryachkina's chances here. Lagno, an extremely difficult opponent. She's looking for a counterplay on the left side, I think, with the other knight jumping onto c4, maybe landing to the center of the board to reinforce the defenses. Still in the balanced position, but I do prefer white here.
Optically, I think white just looks so much better. If I didn't have the bar here, I would say white is clearly better. Like +1 would be my evaluation, but there must be some tactical way for black to deal with this. And I love the idea that you mentioned, Tanya, with knight c4, attacking the pawn on b2, and eventually going for this knight e5, because at some point you can play knight g6 and kick this bishop, and if this bishop goes away from g3, then suddenly it looks better. And as I said, she goes g6 and says, no, I will never play knight g6 here.
All right, well, as we look at this game, these are the 2 heavyweights of Tata Steel Chess India Women, 2 big contenders for the titles here. But Goryachkina had a shaky start. She has 1.5 out of 3 currently for Kateryna. She is on 2 out of 3. We'll come back to this, but there's a big clash at the top board right now. And I say the top board because Carissa Yip currently leads with 2.5 out of 3. And she's playing our very own Divya, who I think had an up and down day 1. Sehaj, a very different position from the Goryachkina board, looks a lot more in control, positional. But I have to say, I'm kind of liking Divya's chances. It just feels with the D line open, more development, more harmony there. The Black Knight ready to jump to B4 to hit the queen, to hit some of those pawns. D5 square, looking like a nice post. Just slightly prefer Divya's position here.
For sure, I think I prefer Divya's position here. And I have a question for you and the chat here. So chat, what opening do you think Divya played here? It's a very, because the moment I looked at this position, I thought to myself, no way she did it. And she did. She did actually play the opening that I was thinking of. And
Is it your favorite opening?
No. From neither color do I like it actually, but it is a great opening for faster formats. And I'll give you a clue, chat. Duda used to play it at some point. There is actually a version of Duda, like okay, I can't give away the name because I'm looking at the chat and watching if someone can predict this opening. What do you think it is, Tanya? If you had to make one guess.
Are you really putting me on the spot here? I want to say it started with the king's pawn opening.
Yes.
So e4 was the first move.
Yes. And now think of the weirdest move you can play as black.
Not the Scandi. This is not the.
This
not
is the Scandi.
Oh my goodness. The Scandinavian on the board in this one. You got to show what that is. Yes.
Yep. We have Scandi on the board. They say don't bring out your queen early in the opening, and Divya says, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Because the queen is already in the center on move 2, and that is Scandinavian for you. And it has worked out well for her, yeah, because after move 13, she is the one driving the game. She has this weakness on d4, and I love how you broke down the position earlier with the square on d5. I think Divya is looking amazing.
Looking really good. You know, when you said, I don't hear you, is what Divya's response was, I thought you were telling me that. Get that a lot. Alright, well, but I think the Scandinavian in this case has worked out pretty well for Divya, so it's still a long grind, of course, ahead of her. I would say draw is a very likely outcome in such positions, but still far away because you have so many pieces on the board, not so many open lines. You seem to disagree.
When you play Scandi, I just want to win.
Yeah, draw is the least likely.
No.
With both
anyone who wins, somebody has to win because the Scandi is a statement. You know, when you play this opening, somebody has to win. So I think for me, it looks like Divya has the upper hand here, but Karissa also has, I think, a pawn in the center. She has more space in the position. So it can go either way. But yeah, we want a result here.
We do want a result here, and I think for Divya fans, they want her to win this game with the black pieces to get on that leaderboard. Let's go back to our open section. Sahaj, we mentioned our two headliners, Vishy versus Arjun and Nihal versus Hans, due to the leaderboard as it stands currently. And there have been moves on the Vishy board, and I want to rush to that. First, take us from where we left it last. A lot of changes have happened since.
Yes, so he went rook b8 to attack this pawn on b2. Vishy defends it. He goes king h8, preempting this rook g8 and maybe some pressure on the g2 pawn. Vishy goes b4, very logical move. Takes. Of course, when there's an en passant, you have to do it. It's a rule. Black plays rook g8, white goes rook e1, and now rook g4. Suddenly, you know, this is the thing about Arjun that I never understand, because he'll create an imbalance on the board and he'll just be better in a couple of moves. How does he do it?
And regardless of the color that he's playing with, you know, when you're white, it's still easier to direct the game into these battles. But even when he's black, he voluntarily takes this f7, f6 doubled pawns. The advantage of that is that you get an open G line and access to white's king. He's making the most of that, looking at ways of perhaps doubling up on it. You know, maybe the queen will move ahead, the rook will line itself. He first starts with clamping down on the queen side. A little move, and I think moves like these. Sorry, he brings his queen out first.
He plays rook e3, and look at this f5. White takes, bishop takes, rook c1 happens, and a5. And it's like he's playing on both sides of the board. Yeah, there is pressure on the g file and there's pressure on the b file as well. And Vishy is thinking, how am I going to defend both?
And he solved the problem of the doubled pawns as well. For Vishy, he has to find a way to attack the weakness of d6, but it's not really easy as white to make the most of this position. And I think he's feeling the pressure right now, Vishy is. Arjun, very different from the vibe we got on day one.
Yes, I think Arjun is feeling, I mean, this is the type of position where I think Arjun feels at home. And you're saying this pawn on d6 is a weakness. I think it can become a source of strength, Tanya, because the moment you go, for example, f6, just give me d5 and d4. And now suddenly Vishy's position looks like it's about to collapse.
If that pawn gets to d4, Arjun is dominating the board. He's putting pressure on the left flank, the right flank, the center, all of it right now. The clocks are level, but definitely more difficult to be white here than to be Arjun.
I think usually when there is an imbalance, that's the way to go.
Yeah, you don't want to be anyone but Arjun when you've got a
Yes.
chaotic position like this.
Exactly, but Arjun makes sure that there's going to be a chaotic position every single time. So he's looking pretty good going into day two. He goes knight d2, defending this pawn on b3, and perhaps also looking at some queen f3 ideas to put pressure on the f5 bishop and the f7 pawn.
I'm going to add to that. I think knight c4 is also a threat. We pointed out d6 right now as a weakness, and I think this is super well timed because Vishy isn't allowing d5 with the e pawn under attack. The queen, like you said, eyeing f3, but the knight heading towards c4. I really like this knight retreat. It's a very tricky move by Vishy.
Amazing. And by the way, I have a question for the chat here. So, chat, if I presume that this is an online game and I'm playing knight c4, I've already pre-moved knight c4. What is your best move there as black?
If you've pre-moved it,
If I've already pre-moved knight c4 and you can see that I've pre-moved this, then what is the best move for black here?
great question. I will say don't try it at home, whatever your answer is.
Actually, it's the best move in the position.
Really?
Yes.
Aha, you know what? I was going for a different idea though.
Oh, just capture,
Yes.
yeah? Oh, okay.
I
That
was
also
going
makes
for
sense.
a different idea, but let's see if chat gets what you have in mind. All right, we'll come back to this. We've got our eye on chat as well, but let's go back to the other tournament leader. Right behind there, we see Hans versus Nihal. And once again, this is where we are on the live board. A cross given to Hans's last decision. To me, it looks like the most natural move. You put your bishop on an active diagonal.
I think maybe the d4 pawn was hanging or something like. Oh no, there was knight g4. So his last
Oh,
move
but
was a
let's ask
mistake.
chat. Why can you not take on d4? Queen takes pawn. It's a free pawn, you know. I'm a pawn grabber. Chat, what's the reason here? What are your tactics here? White to play and win.
It's actually really, really nice tactic, and you can just say the last move, I guess, in chat. But it requires more than just one move of calculation. And now this bishop on f1 also doing wonders defending this pawn on g2. Very, very crucial. The
What
move
was it?
is
I was going to go for knight d5.
knight d5 exactly.
But
And
queen c5.
yes, queen c5, and then you take the bishop on e7.
Aha.
Black goes queen takes e7, and now finally you have bishop to a3 attacking the rook
Beautiful.
and the queen, and okay, you take the exchange, but he does not go for it. Of course, Hans sees all of this. He goes bishop d6, and now Nihal plays h3. Some slight pressure, I would say, from Nihal's side, because these hanging pawns do not look pleasant to deal with.
I agree with you. In these kind of positions, I would also much prefer the healthier pawn structure that Hans has. Bishop's also looking pretty active. So, really quite a dynamic game. By the way, you know, you asked chat that question about pre-move. I think Arjun heard you because he did go, he gives the answer, chat. He
And-
gives the answer, the best reply to...
And by the way, people
Sahaj
in the
please.
chat also actually guessed the move correctly. So well done to all of you. It was actually queen b7, because now if you go knight c4, there is a checkmate on g2 happening, which of course Vishy defends with rook g3.
And while with this chat, you win Sahaj's approval, there's also a lot of cool stuff to be won with our giveaway of the day. The question is, tell us your favorite player without telling us your favorite player, and you'll win a diamond membership as well as some very cool merch coming from Tata Steel Chess India, some exclusive stuff coming your way. Tweet to us with your hashtag TSCI2026 or give us your answers on YouTube, Twitch chat. We've got our eyes on that, and we'll pick a winner at the end of the day. Get as creative, as funky as you can, and that would, I think, improve your chances.
Oh.
I'm also thinking about the answer to this question.
I've been thinking about it since you asked this question, you know, when we started the show, and I have some ideas, but I'm gonna wait for them. I don't want to give
Don't
chat
give
any
it away.
ideas. Yeah, exactly. So he goes rook g3, and now Arjun in deep thought. 7 minutes for him, 8 minutes for Vishy. And the question is, does he trade the rook on g3 or not? Because Arjun does not like trades. He wants to keep things as chaotic as possible.
Because the position is chaotic, and it's really not easy to understand who has the better chance to get the win. I think it's a good moment to put up a poll in our chat as well. What is the result of this game? What do you guys think? Is it going to be a Vishy win, an Arjun win, or does this end somehow peacefully in a draw, which I think is the least likely result? But Chad, what do you think? Who takes this generational clash between Vishy and Arjun? And Rakesh is on it, I believe, to put on the poll.
Yes, the poll is incoming. You know, for me, I think Vishy could take this one. That's my guess. That's somehow a feeling because Vishy has more time on the clock, and usually in the end game, the person with the most time ends up getting the upper hand. That's my take here. And what do you think?
Very tensed battle here. I'm looking at the position and I'm loving the fight that Arjun has created. And we're already getting our
Wait.
answers to tell us your favorite player without telling us your favorite player. We won't even give away what that is. I think, if you know, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. And by the way, there is a blunder on Hans's board.
Ooh.
Supposedly, he has gone knight g4.
Guys, just an action replay. We left it at bishop d6. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, this was what happened, and he played h3. We left it here, and he goes bishop b8, rook d1, and knight to g4. And Hans is targeting the h2 pawn, but he has missed something.
There's no h2 pawn. That pawn is on h3. So pawn takes knight is the first big question here. Hans is setting up queen h4. That has to be the idea.
Yes, so basically, if you take on g4, you can go queen h4, and now Hans is thinking you cannot play g3 because I can capture bishop. Actually, there's queen h1 checkmate as well.
Exactly.
Wow, but there is a very nice move here that wins the game for
I'm also
Nihal.
trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure out what is the... So queen h2 is a checkmate in one which is being threatened. He takes it. Nihal has found it. And Hans is reaching for the queen. It's about to land on h4. And there's not so much you can do. And he immediately responds, Sahaj, what a move. The blue arrow appears and on our camera, I just saw Nihal. He swoops the rook up to e5. Hans Niemann pauses. This is the resource that he missed.
Wow, and we have a brilliancy on the board with rook e5. The first one of the day, I believe. And I think Nihal is just winning.
Yeah, what a rook slide this has been. And did you see how confidently, I wish we had one of those action replay moments. Nihal quickly took the knight. The moment Hans played queen h4, just sliding the rook all the way up, blocking the bishop's diagonally, saying you can take that rook. But at the end of it, when the dust settles, bishop takes rook, pawn takes bishop. And it'll be Nihal who will have the material advantage. 2 minor pieces for a rook. That's close to a winning advantage in this position.
Just an extra piece, and let's not forget this knight can also sit on d6 where it acts more than a knight for sure.
This has to be the move Hans missed because you don't sacrifice a piece and then take this big pause. This was not his aim. He did not want to go into this position. I'll also point out f6. Chat, what is the move that you want to meet f6 with?
I'll just play it out on the board. Let's go f6. There's just one move in this position that
Only
is
one
winning.
move saves the day. And maybe that's what Hans missed.
I think maybe you see rook e5,
Yes.
but
No, I think it's rook e5. Rook
Maybe
e5.
rook e5,
The
yeah.
block, the diagonal block. Let's see if chat gets it. f6 has only one response to it. Nihal Sarin has seen it. Have you seen it, chat?
it is a very, very, very nice move. The move, shall we reveal it?
Yes, let's do it.
It is rook h5. And now you might be thinking, by the way, does he play f6? He doesn't play f6. Yes, he's thinking. He goes g6. We'll get to that. The problem is if you go bishop h2 check, king h1, you cannot give me a check again because I'll just capture your queen on h4. And with that, Nihal would be completely winning. But Hans says, you know what? Let's play g6 first. I'm going to block rook h5. And next move, I'm going to play f6.
So he's setting up this idea of f6. So g6, I'm really glad we broke that down actually, because that makes us understand Hans's idea to go g6. But this gives Nihal one move, right? He's got a whole move to save this position.
Exactly. And that move cannot be g3, of course. It feels like it is begging to be played, but it's a blunder. You
Yes.
keep forgetting there's a bishop on 8 and just queen h1 is just checkmate here.
I also want to point out a move like f3 trying to create a luft for the king will not work because after f3, let's just show that line. f6, you kick the rook out and the rook falls back and now the little bishop dawns to take away the key running square.
Yep, exactly. Bishop h2 check, king h1, bishop g3 check, and then queen h2 is just a checkmate. Oops, there was a mouse slip there from my side, but yeah, queen h2 would just be a checkmate here. So he does not go for it. He goes rook d3. By the way, the best move in the position.
Wow.
He uses the extra move, and now instead of getting rook h5, he's gonna get rook h3 instead. And he's just a piece up. And you know, Tanya, with his last move, g6, Hans has also made sure that bishop takes e5 is less attractive because now if you take pawn takes e5, there's d6 and f6.
And the white knight will land there one day. So Nihal Sarin with a winning advantage against Hans Niemann. I'm going to point out our bars at the bottom. They show the evaluation across boards chat. You can see what's happening there. If you want to check out the game, you can go on /events on the website, Chesscom /events and check it out there. But everything is in the balance except this one, Sahaj. Nihal with a close to winning advantage here. But let's check in with Wesley against Vidit. It's a game we haven't looked at. And I think part of the reason is that it's the opening.
Yeah, the Berlin.
The great Berlin.
The great Berlin. And okay, but it's looking kind of interesting because now Vidit's king is on g6. And I'm just wondering, can I push this pawn or is there any future for this pawn? Actually, it's an interesting move, but somehow it's not one of the best. I'm not sure why that is. Can I just go rook e8 perhaps and just take this pawn on e6?
That's the feeling you get, right? The pawn is too far advanced and there's no way home for it. How are you going to defend it? You can even push it to e7, but you're going to lose the knight on f5 and then eventually all the pawns that have gone up the board. Rook e8, e7, bishop takes knight.
Exactly. Very nice. By the way, rook e8 was the only move in this position, Tanya.
But also the most natural move, right? Because what even is that rook doing on g8? It's begging to come on e8 is what it's doing.
Exactly.
So, would you say that Vidit with the bishop pair and the tension that exists, by the way, meanwhile, Wesley, he comes back with his bishop trying to neutralize?
I think we have a draw incoming on this board very, very soon. With his last move, Wesley kind of confirmed it for me because now black can just take on f5, take on e3 and just go into a rook endgame. And a very famous person once said that all rook endgames are drawn, and in this case, it could very well be true. Shall we go back to Nihal versus Hans and take a look at how Nihal is, or if Nihal is going to convert this winning position, because Hans is right now at the top of the leaderboard, and if Nihal defeats Hans, then they will be on the same points. He goes queen h4.
Oh, and with that, his advantage even goes further up. So materially, you've got these beautiful minor pieces against the black rook, but it's those dark square weaknesses. If white's knight is able to land on one of them, and that's exactly where it's headed, it's close to game over.
Oh yes. I'm getting my knight on. I won't even take this pawn. I don't need it. I'll just go knight d6 and then I'll try to reroute this bishop somehow, maybe to g5 or f6. And
I'm looking at ideas like rook h3, land your queen on h6 and start threatening checkmate.
That's just, I think a resignation is not very far away for Hans.
I actually think that this game would be is going to be the first one to end in our round one battle.
I think you are 100% accurate here. Great start for Nihal, yeah? Defeating Hans, the tournament leader, with the white pieces.
And Hans is down to about a minute on the clock right now. And he does make a decision, rook to c5.
Also remember that Nihal was, he had an almost winning position against Arjun yesterday as well. So
and he completely messed that up.
So he's actually in very good shape.
Nihal is a huge contender, especially in the blitz. He's won that before at Tata Steel Chess India. He obviously wants to prove that this is where he belongs. It was with Gokesh's withdrawal due to personal reasons that now we've got Nihal in the scene. But I think a lot of Indian chess fans are very happy to see him in the arena.
Including myself. I think I've said this yesterday and I'm going to say it again. Nihal as a replacement is a cheat code. I think it's just a cheat code.
Default setting.
Yeah, this is, I'm not sure if as the players, if playing Nihal in blitz is just so difficult.
Playing Nihal anywhere is difficult, but especially in blitz. And speaking of blitz and lightning fast speed, let's check in with Vishy's game right now against Arjun. Said maybe we do a quick action replay as this goes into blitz territory as well.
So this was the position where we left it after rook g3. He goes rook d4. No trades. I think very Arjun-like. Queen h5 happens, trying to connect the queen and the rook to maybe have some mating attack ideas on the king side. He goes bishop g6. Queen g5 happens, and now king g7, not allowing queen f6 check. White goes h3. The first inaccuracy in this game. Black plays h6, kicking the queen away. Queen e3, and now queen d5. And suddenly Arjun is back in charge. Vishy retreats his knight, and now he goes rook d1. So this last move was a slight inaccuracy from Arjun's side. Rook d3 was giving him maybe a slight advantage, but rook d1, still I think he's driving the game for sure. Because look at Vishy's pieces. They are not very well coordinated, and this pawn on h3 does not help. You want to play rook h3 here. You want to attack the h6 pawn, but you can't do it.
I think the one case to be made for that pawn on h3 is to try to go up h4, h5. Especially with the rook lined up on g3, it's perhaps an idea that could be on Vishy's radar right now. And we've got Kesha saying, my favorite player was a grandmaster before any of the other players were even born. Hashtag lightning kid.
That is...
I wonder who he's talking about. We'll have to think about that.
Yes,
we'll
yes,
come
yes.
back to it. But keep them coming, chat. Who is your favorite player without telling us who is your favorite player? Put it out on Twitter. Hashtag 2026. Whoa, what is that? Did Arjun just blunder? Is he about to lose a rook? Can we go full screen on the players right now? Rook takes... And that's it. If Vishy takes the rook on d1, he's winning. Arjun has miscalculated this. Rook takes queen, rook takes queen. Arjun's about to resign now. If you go queen takes rook right now, you lose the b3 rook.
Yeah, I think he's about to just...
And our
He's just
board
a
is
full
glitched
rook.
right now. He's just lost a rook. Oh, an entire rook.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
This is the product I feel for having less time on the clock. Because I think you start to panic and then that's where mistakes happen.
Did you see that? Saj, can we just show that one more time? From a position where we were talking about Arjun seizing and taking over the advantage, slowly but steadily, or at least in balance. Black, absolutely no danger. He plays rook d1, Vishy unpins, and then just blunders the rook. After rook takes rook, everything hangs. You take the queen, white takes the queen back, and there's not...
He took here, of course, queen d1 and queen b3 happened and he plays queen f1 and just queen b6 basically. You're just busted here.
But there's no compensation. You're down an entire exchange.
Can't even give a check.
You're going to lose all your pawns as well.
He's gonna be, I think, the sole leader.
The stars are aligning in Kolkata. That is what is happening here.
Insane.
It is actually absolutely nuts what's going on. You know, Vishy comes back. In 2018, he played. In 2019, he played. In 2018, he beat Hikaru Nakamura in the tie breaks to take Tata Steel Chess India blitz. Then he returns as a player on the board after 6 years. Leads after day one. And is about to take down Arjun Erigaisi right now.
Crazy.
But Sahaj, you have to feel for Arjun. I mean, this is just everything's going wrong right now for him in Kolkata. This is a tale of two cities, what we are seeing in front of us.
Absolutely.
Of two very different destinies here.
You know, I think how you start off the day is really important because you don't have that many games. You only have 3 games. And for Arjun, starting the day with a blunder, I don't like his chances in the rapid. I feel like this is not going to be a good day for him.
Do you think he somewhere felt that there is compensation here, something to fight for? Because I don't see it. At any moment, you know, push comes to shove, you give up your rook for the bishop on g6 if it's even needed, which it won't be.
I mean, I think maybe it was just a wake-up call in that sense for him because he definitely blundered rook
How
takes
do you
d1.
explain rook takes pawn?
I mean, maybe he was looking at queen takes b3, you know, in the sense, okay, queen takes b3, I can take the queen, you will take it back with the rook, and then I will take the rook on c1. This is what he was calculating, but this intermezzo with rook takes d1 is what he...
And the black queen hanging in the center.
Exactly. That's what he missed. And this is, I mean, very shocking from Arjun. Definitely an oversight.
Blind spot moment.
For sure, yes. I think it's also a product of time pressure. But look at him. He's trying to go h4 and maybe give some checks on the f4 and the c1 square. And Vishy says queen b4. No queen f4 check allowed in this game.
He's going to just start pushing the a pawn. Now, Arjun is relying all his hopes on the d passer. He wants to create counterplay with d4, d3. And this might be the moment for Vishy to start targeting the central pawns. Maybe put pressure on e5 with his queen.
Queen e7 looks very promising.
Very tempting. He's reaching out for his rook. He instead attacks the e5 pawn with the rook. I like that move.
He's provoking e4, and with that move, the bishop, by the way, played by Arjun. And now look at all of the pawns. They're all fixed on the light squares, leaving the dark squares empty.
All Vishy has to do is just finish this off now. He's completely winning. But you know, this is where the nerves come in. And look at the clock situation as well. It's Vishy with a 2.5 minute advantage. He's a beast in this tournament.
Guys, just one draw and he's defeating everyone left and right. What is happening?
It was in December 25 at the Jerusalem Masters that Arjun in the finals against Vishy won that match. You know, it was both of them fighting for this, and it looks like here, it's Vishy's day today.
Oh, yes.
Vishy's day yesterday as well.
She's, I think, whole event at this point because win 4 rounds already and he has just dropped half a point and he's going to be the sole leader. I mean, that's so huge. He goes rook e1 again, best move. Goes queen d3.
And Sahaj up. And there we have a result. It is Nihal Sarin who gets the win. Hans Niemann with that inaccurate sacrifice, which turned out to be a blunder. A move that you think is about to win the game is the losing one. Knight to g4.
And you could see from Hans's expression there as well. Nihal was asking, was this a blunder? And he was like, yes. I think he himself couldn't believe it. So far, Tanya, in the first round itself of day 2, we have seen 2 blunders.
Yes.
One was one felt like a clear blunder and the other one was a sacrifice which he miscalculated. But yeah, 2 blunders, that is huge.
Both voluntarily given, thinking that you're winning something, but actually you end up in a lost position. Meanwhile, keep an eye on that A pawn. I think that's the one that's going to decide the game for Vishy right now. His rook and queen doing a fantastic job of making sure that the D and the E pawn don't get too further up the board. I'm expecting Arjun to go E3 just to create chaos as much as possible. But notice how the E1 queening square is in full control.
I think he might take with the queen just to give some checks on F4, but it's just not going to be enough.
Do you think Vishy gets this done? Does he finish this off?
100%.
100%. 1000%.
1 million. There is no chance, I think, that Vishy is not going to win this match. He goes queen e3, and now let's play a6. Or are there any tricks? Or look at him, clinical, yeah, queen e1, offering the trade of queens. If you give a check on f4, queen g3, and then once again, this pawn, no one's going to stop this one. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised, Tanya, if Arjun just resigns at this moment.
Or very soon at least. He does go for the check and expecting Vishy to block it with his queen. The rook now beautifully placed, assisting the a pawn to move up the board. Look at that clock, man. Geez, so impressive.
2-minute advantage and exchange up an extra pawn on the side. I mean, you can't ask for more, yeah? You just have to make sure, Vishy just has to make sure there are no tricks in this position, no last minute tactics, but he has enough time to calculate all of this.
And we'll also update everyone. We'll stay here till the end as this one goes into the final phases. But in Tata Steel Chess India Women, Harika has a winning advantage against Vaishali. It's Rakshita with a winning advantage against Nana Dzagnidze. In fact, Harika just won her game against Vaishali. So getting a much needed win there after a shaky day 1. For Vaishali, it's not been a happy tournament so far.
Yes, agreed, I think. Not a great start either. Was that I saw the kings were in front of each other. Was that a draw or was that a win? I think they repeated.
Oh, I take that back. I'm sorry. In a winning position, there was a mistake that was made at some point, and it did in fact end in a draw. We'll replay that at the end, Sahaj. But you're absolutely right. It ended with a draw.
Crazy. And look at this. He goes rook a2, Vishy. And now I think no chances, yeah? I think for Arjun, no checks, no nothing. Completely guarding the second rank, not allowing d2, no checks, just push the pawn up, and Arjun on the brink of resignation.
And we have another result coming in. Wei Yi continues his hot form in India, and there it is. He's won his game against Aravindh. We've got 3 remaining games in the Open. We've got Pragg versus Murzin at the back right now. Wesley, Vidit still in the balance. Pragg with an advantage in the ending, but this is where it's all eyes at 5-time world champion Vishy against Arjun. Vishy putting the finishing touches right now as the A-pawn is unstoppable. Meanwhile, Arjun's D-pawn has been stopped dead on the tracks. Arjun trying to give some checks.
Just queen g3 now I think would be GG because you're losing a tempo by deflecting the queen, and then you can push a7. Yep, queen g3 played. He goes queen c4, attacks the pawn on a2. My question is, no, I cannot. I was thinking if a7 here and queen b8, but there's bishop e4. Very smartly, not only defends this, but also attacks mid in one. So, okay, you have to be a bit careful. Just queen f2 is very simple.
Actually, he is making it tricky and not so easy for Vishy to finish this off. But I think if Vishy is just precise for the next 2 or 3 moves, you simply move the rook away, perhaps.
Rook a1. Actually, there are only 2 moves in this position, yeah, that are winning for. There is queen f2, and the queen. And I should remind everyone that Vishy just played queen g3 to deflect from that check. And the second move is rook a1, which is not as clean. So Arjun still putting some pressure on Vishy He might come back. You never know.
And the reason it's kind of hard to move the rook away is because you're always looking at the queen attacking and Vishy doesn't go for it. Does this give Arjun the chance to come back into the game?
Yes, it does. And now D2 is...
But that's why we were advocating for rook to A1, controlling that queening square on D1. Arjun will of course play D2. That hand is coming forward for that D pawn.
But
It's about to land on it, Sahaj.
Are we going to see 2 queens on the board, Tanya? It might happen. Give them queens, because after A7, D1 queen, A8 queen, we might see 4 queens on the board. It is possible.
Wow. And an exchange up for Vishy, but that completely changes the dynamic. Vishy isn't allowing the 4 queens on the board. He's reaching for his queen. He wants to stop that pawn from promoting. He goes forward.
That's a blunder, because
What?
he can queen anyways and go queen
Queen
C7.
C7 check, and Vishy reacts right there. Arjun, has he seen it? He's about to win the rook back. Heavy queens.
Wow. Big blunder by Vishy, and Arjun, for sure he's seen it, right?
Heartbreaking. And then he reaches out for the queen. Arjun will queen give that up only to win Vishy's rook. Vishy misses this tactic, and it's Arjun Erigaisi who'll end up a piece on the board with a winning advantage. This is absolute heartbreak.
Wow, what a turn of events, and props to Arjun for not giving up. I cannot believe that, 2 moves ago, Vishy had an extra rook in the position and now it's gone.
Miracles happen in Kolkata.
Oh yes, and it just happened. Now bishop e4, as you can see hovering with the bishop, plays it.
Indeed, the madman strikes, and what a way. And something is to be said about his fighting spirit. How many of the best players in the world would have resigned against Vishy in this position? But Arjun, he just kept putting the tricks, he kept advancing his pawns.
Vishy had more time on the clock as well. This is why it's so
Unbelievable,
unreal, because he had so much time. Gives a check, and now next move queen e2, and that's just checkmate.
and that's just game over. A6 is hanging, G2 checkmate. You can't defend everything. Vishy will resign after queen to E2. You have to give up the A6 pawn, and with that loss, there will be nothing remain to fight. And there it is, Arjun Erigaisi with a comeback win in this one from a completely dead lost position. Saves with a miracle.
Wow, I am speechless at how he could turn that around. And we were saying 1000% that he's going to win, yeah? Unbelievable.
Chess is indeed brutal. It is unreal what has just happened right now, and you have to feel for Vishy. Such a beautiful execution till that last move blunder. Just missing this tactic, and Arjun, he's always ready to punish such misses.
Yes, and I mean props to him for creating problems at the last moment.
What a
against
fighter.
Vishy.
What a fighter.
Yep. I mean, now he must be feeling super confident. Now he's got that, 2 wins in a row.
It almost feels like he used one of his 9 lives today to survive that game.
That is, I think, almost unbelievable to me. Wow. Okay, we have Pragg playing against Volodar here, and Volodar having 5 seconds on the clock. He's trying to shuffle his rook backwards and forwards, and Pragg is looking for a way to break through.
Alright, so while this one is still Pragg on the push, Tej, we still have action on our marquee matchup in the women. Let's go to Divya versus Karissa. It's a king pawn endgame, and those are always super tricky. And I want to point out, the interesting thing is if it was white with, instead of the double pawns, a pawn on the H line, there would be some making of tactics here where white can actually push to create passes. There are endgame books that have been written about it. But in this position, I don't believe that either side has a real winning shot.
No, because you just have to play h6. But okay, we just saw, Arjun do Arjun things, and right now anything is possible, in that sense. But yes, I think h6 is the best move. You take the pawn, you push g4, and okay, eventually you'll run out of reserve tempos and you'll just repeat the moves. I think we are looking into a very, very solid, safe draw here. And again, let's remind everyone, Divya played Scandinavian. Again, big props to her for trying out Scandi, in this match. Love to see it.
And she did create a dynamic position out of it, and like you said, an offbeat opening there. And this one she's holding confidently. She's playing on seconds though right now, and king pawn endings can be tricky. I don't know why, after what we've just seen, I have a feeling that there are twists and turns ahead.
You think so? Oh, maybe we've had our quota, I think, for the day with what just happened between Vishy and Arjun.
Saj, I'm going to let you take the pick because there's time pressure on the Pragg board versus Murzin as well. This one, I think it's about to end in a draw potentially. Should we just check in with the Pragg board and see what's happening there?
Absolutely, let's do it. This is the position, and look at this. Pragg trying to once again break through in this position. Both are playing on seconds. Pragg has just gone knight a3 because he wants to play knight b5 check and put his knight on d6. My mouse skills are not the best, but yeah, black wanting to go knight c4 in this position. Who do you like more here? I'm not even sure if I like Pragg's position anymore as much. If this knight sits on c4, I'm taking black here.
I hear you, but I still would make a case for white simply because of the rook activity as well. That knight looks very nice on c4, but it's sort of that knight which doesn't have real targets. It gives a check, but none of the pawns can be attacked. Each pawn defends itself. A really nice pawn formation. White can aim at maybe setting up some ideas with rook infiltration on the A line. So I'm liking the piece activity that Pragg has. But very, very tricky position. I think more than the position side, it's about the clock now.
Oh yes, and look at this. There's also a checkmate incoming in just 2 moves, and there we have, I think, the match between Carissa Yip and Divya Deshmukh ending in a draw. And look at this, he just blundered. You were right. Murzin just blundered, and Pragg is now back. He's winning.
He enters with the rook, so I was thinking he set up rook a4. He set up the doubling up of the rook with this sneaky move because now knight to a5 will be met with a sacrifice.
Oh.
Saj, what a move, rook a6. If
So
knight
sharp.
a5, rook takes knight, he spinned the black rook to c6, and that is what Murzin missed. Rook a6. Maybe you can just show that just if you go back 1 move here.
Let's say if I go something like rook d7 and rook here and knight a5, there was rook takes a5 and the rook is taking the rook. But he goes king c8 in this position, and now he gives Pragg the chance to play knight a7 check and just to take the rook. But Pragg says, no, I think I see something
Did you
better.
see the confidence with which he played that move?
This is how you know Pragg knows that he's winning.
And that move down. And king d7.
By the way, this is the last game in the men's section. As he goes rook a8, king d7 happens, and rook d8 attacking the pawn on g6. This is just GG, yeah?
And those pawns cannot be defended. All of Murzin's pieces are on the left side of the board. Nothing can come to the rescue. Again, that knight on c4, superfluous. Looks really nice, but is doing nothing at all. He's going to give a check.
Gives the
Drives
check.
the king up. And now he could also take the rook on b7. He could take the pawn on g6. And why he gave the check was the king has lost connection to e6. So he comes in, grabbing a pawn with a threat.
Exactly, nicely pointed out there. He goes rook e7, and now multiple ways that he can win. So many ways. In fact, I was really thinking about this move rook takes c4 and knight d6, because feels like a nice capture, and the knight can finally find its place to d6. He doesn't go for it, but rook c4 was also winning here, Anya.
You don't have time to calculate all what happens once all the trades are in. I think Pragg just keeping things under control. Very professional approach by him. Why rely on calculation when you don't need to? But right now he has to make a decision. That knight is attacked. Does he go for Murzin? Will he trade? You take on d6, you lose the b6 pawn. He comes back with his rook capturing the file, looking for some desperate counterplay. He sacrificed more material right now.
It's a great problem to have, I think, for Pragg. Which pawn to take? There's knight f5 hanging and knight c4 hanging. And both of them are winning. He takes the pawn on c4. King d5. Some counterplay maybe for Volodar, because you have the king on d5 at central. The king can maybe find its place like this, and maybe it's wishful thinking. But right now Pragg's rook under attack. How does he defend it? Does he go rook b4? Does he go king d3? 5 seconds.
The move. He does. He also sidesteps any check on the second rank. Murzin will infiltrate. He's eyeing that g3 pawn.
There was a pawn checkmate possible with c4, but I don't think Murzin is going to allow it.
I think I was about to say you go rook g8, but there's rook d1 check that's being threatened, so he moves the rook away. After rook d1, now the king can slide back.
Oh yes, beautiful move. I think, by the way, he plays rook f1 instead, and now c4 check is possible. Rook g1, sorry.
He can give a check.
Check, check.
He could also, and he does. Oh, and check, check.
Another check incoming.
On the board. Yeah, it's been a very tough start for Murzin here in Kolkata. He is a former world rapid champion.
Yeah, I think
Only half a point out of 3.
Yep, his draw against Vidit, and apart from that, he has lost all of his matches, and he resigns against Pragg as well. And Pragg, great game by him. Yeah, he's now basically joined, one of the leaders because both of them lost, and now he's on 2.5 as well.
Fantastic conversion and technique here by Pragg. Yesterday he lost that game 3 against Hans Niemann. It was quite a devastating loss. He was pretty much crushed, but coming back today with a big statement win in the first game. And we've still got action. Now, you were talking about Vantika. You're rooting for her, Sahaj. She's playing against Stavroula. And I do see that Stavroula has an extra exchange on the board. But be careful. There could be potentially some stalemating ideas with the position of the Black King.
It would be amazing, but as long as I have this pawn on f6,
oh yes,
then it's a problem. But
you need to give up everything.
Yeah, just take this pawn, and maybe then I'll try. But I think right now it looks really unlikely for her to make a comeback. By the way, wait, what? Honey, will you believe me that in this position? Okay, no. She goes rook h7, must be winning. Yeah, there's bishop e6 possible though. Look at this move. So some hope still. She goes f5.
I think Vantika is trying to give up that f pawn. She's saying, I want to get rid of that and try to create some stalemating tricks if possible.
Just push all the way.
All the way.
He goes rook a3. No mistakes anymore. Now rook d3 is just winning because
it's a big threat.
Yeah, I think.
And you'll have to recap the Rakshita versus Nana game because that's been the biggest upset in the women's section for us before we start the second round of the day. That would be round 5. And rook d3 arrives. I'm expecting Vantika. She has to go bishop f5, but you just give it.
Oh, your idea
check.
Could have worked here, Tanya, because after takes.
You take it. Yeah, this is where she.
But this pawn is a problem.
I was telling you that there are tricks, but if that f pawn is off the board, this position would have been a stalemate. But you said it, Sahaj. You called it out. That as long as that pawn is alive, no stalemates. Yeah, just don't take it. Once the king moves there, she just is going to grab it with her rook. She says your king will be allowed to come out. And this is where Vantika will resign. And there we have the handshakes. And with that, round 4 comes to an end.
Great show, I think, by Stavroula defeating Vantika with the white pieces. And, the tournament completely opened up on both sides. Carissa Yip still maintaining her lead, but Kateryna Lagno, who just defeated Goryachkina with the black pieces, has joined her at 3 points. And in the open section, it's completely chaos.
It's full chaos, and it's been caused by the king of chaos, Arjun Erigaisi's crazy win over Vishy Anand. I mean, what a round we've had. Complete turnarounds, twists and turns. Shocking results there. Let's bring up our standings to see where we are going into round 5. And Sahaj, like I said, you have promised us to go through Rakshita versus Nana. A huge upset in the women's section, but this is where we are. Look at that traffic jam at the top. With 2.5 out of 3 in the open is Vidit Gujrathi, Hans Niemann, Vishy Anand, Nihal Sarin, Wesley So and Praggnanandhaa.
You have to feel a bit sad for Vishy in this sense because had he won that match, he would have had a 1-point lead over everyone. And now it's a 6-way tie after round 4. So it's basically anyone's tournament at this point.
And that's exactly how we like it. But I completely agree with you. Just the heartbreak of it all, right? First, Arjun coming in with that big blunder, then Vishy blundering the win away, and both sort of one-move tactical misses there. So some surprising result, and the same story in the women's section as well. Carissa Yip now shares the lead with Kateryna Lagno, and look at that, Rakshitta Ravi. If you love an underdog, that's the story that you're looking at 2.5, sole 3rd position. It's her debut in Kolkata. She's the lowest rated player in the field, and she just took down a big heavy favorite.
Yeah, and she is still unbeaten in this event after round 4. I mean, she has made 3 draws and then a win. I mean, that's insane.
And you're going to set up that win for us to show us, Sahaj, how she did it, how she took down Nana Dzagnidze, who is an absolute legend of the game. She's one of the elite women players for so many years. And take it away, Sahaj.
So we have another Caro Khan on the board. Who is surprised? I think not me at this point because we've just been seeing this so often. She goes for e5, very logical. Black plays c5, a sideline in the Caro Khan variation. Usually you're going for bishop f5 ideas here. She goes knight f3, takes, back with the queen. Black plays knight c6, and now queen f4. I think a pretty logical move so far. We're still very much in theory. You can see from her time that Rakshita is super well prepared here. Black goes e6, knight c3, and generally speaking, you want to go bishop d3 in this position. to and black has these ideas of knight b4 and you take the knight bishop on d3, but Rakshita goes knight c3, and I think this is prep. She goes knight b4, queen d2, defends it, knight e7, a3, knight c6, and now b4. I already like her position, but somehow the bar thinks that the advantage is gone for Rakshita. She plays knight g6, bishop b2, and now the pawn on e5 is hanging, but can we take it? Answer is no. You cannot take on e5 because there is takes, and knight takes d5, and then the knight on e5 is now hanging in this position. So she does not take, she goes bishop e7, and now white plays long castle. No ways.
Brave. So
No-
brave.
No ways that she played long castle here. I mean, this is the reason why she won. This is a very
Gutsy move.
Very gutsy move. Yeah, it shows that she's not afraid. Black goes short castle. Now h4. Wow, she's completely going for it. a5, b5. You have to capture the pawn on e5. She does. Takes on e5. Knight takes, and now f4. Just completely just attacking on the king's side, not giving Nana any chance to breathe. Black goes knight g4. She's still better, by the way. Black is completely better here. King b1 happens. b6. This is the first inaccuracy from the black side. h5 happens. h6, and now rook h3. Wow. Sack the pawn and then just bring all of your pieces and see what happens. Yeah. Bishop b7, rook g3, attacking this knight on g4. Black moves the knight to f6. Bishop b2, protecting my pawn on h5. She goes queen c7. Now look at this. There is just one move in this position, Tanya. That is knight a4, and she plays it. Like, it's such a weird move. I'm guessing the idea is to go bishop e5 and to attack the pawn on b6, but that's not an easy move
Not
to
an
see.
easy find. Also eyeing the c3 square for the rook. Rook c3 was also a big threat.
Oh yes, rook c3, bishop e5. So many threats in this position. Of course, you're opening up the bishop as well.
Yes.
Amazing. Black plays d4. You take the pawn on d4. You go rook d8. Take the pawn on b6 as well. Queen f4, such a dynamic game. But I think once again, Tanya, at the end, it's the player who has that extra 2 minutes on the clock in crunch time that ends up winning the game. She goes queen takes g3, queen e7, takes, knight d5 happens, and this was the sort of the blunder from Nana's side. There was a draw here somewhere with queen e1, which she does not find because of time. She goes knight d5 and queen c5 happens, rook d8, and now from this moment onwards, Rakshita did not give her a chance. I mean, it didn't feel like Nana blundered something. It felt like Rakshita was really brave from the opening, and it paid off really well.
Yeah, it just felt like a game which is, as former world champion Mikhail Tal says, a forest of complications.
Yes.
With
yes.
2 + 2 coming to 5, and the path out is wide enough for 1. And that's exactly what happened. Both players could have gone wrong in so many moments, but the last one to make a mistake was Nana, and Rakshita then finished it off
I think
in great style.
you couldn't have summarized it better. Yeah, I think Rakshita, and this is how she beats players like
Yes.
Nana, because they are
That's
more
a great
experienced.
point.
But if you just attack them, if you just go to pure calculation, this is where you can beat them.
When you're playing against higher rated, stronger players, you need to pull them out into these chaotic positions and take your chances, because to positionally and strategically outplay them, especially a player of Nana's class, is incredibly hard.
Exactly, because they've been playing chess for far too long.
Alright, Saj, we've got some time before we kick off round 5. By the way, that's a big one, because guess who's clashing at our marquee matchup? It's going to be a face-off between Vishy Anand and Hans Niemann. Look at that top right pairing. That's the only one that I'm looking at. Sahaj, what else? Which other storyline here stands out to you?
I think Arjun versus Wei Yi, because
Oh.
we have the rematch from the World Cup quarterfinals, and I think Arjun is feeling like himself here, and I think this could be a good moment to take that revenge.
Superb juicy matches coming up. There's also Vidit versus Pragg. Volodar Murzin, who's really looking for his first win against a tournament, is playing against Nihal Sarin, who's fresh off his victory against Hans Niemann. A big clash is coming up there. Sahaj, I'd love it if you could just replay the blunders that we saw, the big moments that we saw. Let's start with Vishy, Arjun, then perhaps we'll also check in with Hans's knight g4. For those who might be just joining in. It's absolutely chaotic on the leaderboard in the Open. And it comes down to what we saw in these 2 games. And it was right here that disaster struck for Arjun.
Exactly, and we thought Arjun is trying to put some pressure. He goes rook takes b3. I think he completely missed rook takes d1 here from Vishy, which he finds within seconds. And now suddenly Vishy is completely winning. He has a rook, Arjun has a bishop, and at some point you're going to capture the a5 pawn as well. You have a free passer. looks like Vishy is going to win.
And he played really well. If you just continue from here and you show the moves that White played, it felt so in control. Like Vishy was converting this clinically.
Absolutely, but I think at some moment, I think we'll get to that moment very shortly. Queen takes happens, Queen e1, Queen check. This is where Arjun started to be a bit tricky because he said, okay, if you push the pawn, I'm going to start giving checks, I'm going to play d2, and okay, you have a pawn on d2, and it can be a bit worrying for Vishy. So he goes Queen f2, and around this moment, when you give the check, if Vishy goes King h2, which he does by the way, you give a check here. Of course, you don't want to play g3 because then this entire diagonal opens up, and maybe some checkmate ideas on h1 could be possible. So Vishy wasn't comfortable doing that. If you bring the king back to g1, then I give you a check. You know the best move for White here? It was actually to go King h1. If Black gives a check on c1, you play Queen g1. Essentially allowing Arjun to play d2, which is not an easy decision.
No, it's not, because d1 is coming in as well. That pawn isn't stopping.
Exactly. You have to find rook a1 here.
Yeah, this is not easy.
So Vishy doesn't do it. He plays Queen g3, and they try to repeat.
Also, Vishy had about 2.5 minutes at this point.
Exactly, 3 minutes actually. And at this moment, if Vishy goes Queen f2 back, then he's going to give a check again, and again you're back into that position where you have to just repeat.
But we were talking about, where should the rook move, and instinctively we felt it was the a1 squares because it guards the d1 queening point.
Exactly, but I think what Vishy missed is that after rook a5, d2, Queen d6, he just thought, I will put my rook on d5 and I will just capture this pawn, and maybe I'll give up the a6 pawn and I'm just winning. He missed that Black can play Queen and just give a check on c7, and it went from completely winning for Vishy to completely winning for Arjun.
Yeah.
In just one move.
From winning to lost in literally one move. And the thing is that everything else was played beautifully by Vishy. Arjun first blundering, then Vishy returning a favor. This one was an absolute roller coaster, and a big blunder happened. And I think after this, it was a few more moves, and Arjun didn't really give any chances at all. You can go Queen g1, defend the checkmate, but you lose your only hope in the position, and Vishy resigned here.
It's the right color as well. So it's like everything is going in Arjun's direction. But wow, what a turn of events.
What a turn of events. And I think for Arjun, a much needed win, I want to say, starting the day with 1 out of 3. He had a really tough day one. Coming from this sort of a loss, I think you gain a bit of confidence. You feel like, okay, this I won. You also make your own luck on the chessboard. You can, the thing is, Arjun kept fighting.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about that.
I think, yeah, because I thought myself that, okay, you can take a draw, or you can just resign in this position, conserve your energy. But Arjun saw something that, a lot of us did not. So props to him for finding it. Props to him for keeping the fight on until the very last move. And it paid off.
It did, and this is not the only story of the big blunders that we saw in round 4. Hans Niemann trying to jump in with his knight to give checkmate. Saj, maybe we can do a quick replay of what happened in that moment, because it was pretty much game over here, and Hans went in with this idea thinking that he's about to win the game.
Exactly, and what happened was that he plays bishop d6. He's one move too late to make the blunder. Actually, he should have gone knight g4 here. And if White plays h3, then there is some knight. Wow. This is possible. But okay, not an easy thing to see in a rapid game for sure, because
and then you take the d4 pawn.
Exactly. If you go king f2, there's queen takes d4 check, and somehow
White's king is just stuck in the center.
Yeah, king g3, bishop d6 is just checkmate, by the way. Wow. So this was the move that I believe Hans wanted to play, but he made it one move too late. He goes bishop d6 first, and after h3 he goes knight g4. So first bishop b8, and then he goes knight g4. Basically, his idea was that if you take on g4, which is what Nihal does, you have queen h4, and you have this mate in one idea. But Hans missed this intermezzo, just blocking this bishop completely on the h2 square, and Hans is just busted.
And this is pretty much it. I think after rook e5, there's nothing to be done. You've given away too much material, and in just a few moves, Nihal won the game. And that just meant that the entire tournament, from having 2 leaders, goes on to have 6 of them at the top with 2.5 out of 4. Vishy and Hans in the mix in that. And in our women's section, we've got 2 players at the top.
Wow. Completely, topsy-turvy, yeah? How the standing sort of unfolded here. And yeah, I mean, really looking forward to the match between Hans versus Vishy, because this could decide who is the leader of going into round 6.
That's a massive clash coming our way. I mean, there's Hans versus Vishy, but just all around, we saw the matchups. We'll bring that up one more time. But before that, let's remind everyone of our grand giveaways ahead.
Oof. So have we chosen the player yet? Okay, so we haven't. So guys, tell us your favorite player without telling us your favorite player. And we saw a bunch of people saying Gandhi Bum and saying
Lightning Kid.
Lightning
just
Kid.
speaks for itself. Some great answers coming in. But I will just point out one thing that put it out on Twitter. Use the hashtag TSCI2026. That's where we will be keeping an eye out on for our grand winner. You'll win all the merch of Tata Steel Chess India. I'm going to try and get some to show you guys what's at stake here. But make your answers funky, make them fun, make them crazy, and stand a chance. So tell us, who is your favorite player without telling us.
Amazing. I'm still thinking, by the way. Do you have an idea?
I know who I want to say, but I'm trying to say how do I say it without saying what I want to say.
That does not sound confusing at all.
All right, well, one thing that's very confusing is the leaderboard in our Open. So before we go on to the pairings, let's bring that up one more time. This is where we stand after the absolute mind-blowing action that we saw in round 4. This is where we're going ahead with. It's Arvind versus Wesley. Arjun taking on Wei Yi next. The big marquee matchup, Hans Niemann against Vishy Anand. It's Volodar Murzin versus Nihal Sarin, and an all-Indian clash with Vidit and Pragg. Chat, who do you think are the favorites to end round 5 at the top? Tell us. And this is our leaderboard. Absolute chaos in the men, and in the women. There you've got 2 players at the top with 3 points, and then Rakshita 2148 rating. The underdog in this tournament. She's at 2 points. A huge win against Nana Dzagnidze, who is currently sharing 4th to 6th alongside Stavroula and Vantika. And for Goryachkina, the recently crowned Women World Rapid Champion, struggling with 1.5.
I mean, that's a bigger surprise for me, but I have to say that Rakshita Ravi, scoring so well is not a surprise to me, because I have been defeated by her with the black pieces. I was playing as white, and in a way that I made zero sort of blunders, zero mistakes. It felt like someone completely outplayed me, and this is why from the beginning I thought Rakshita Ravi is a very, very dangerous player in this format.
I think it's in games like those that you really feel the power of your opponent, because if you blunder or have a one move miss, somewhere you think, okay, this was my mistake. I just had a normal position, I blundered, and you kind of move on from it. But when, without realizing, even when things go wrong, you feel you get outplayed, that's when you really understand how strong, and in this case, underrated, Rakshita Ravi is.
Absolutely. I think she definitely deserves to be here.
She comes from a chess family, Sahaj.
Yes, of course.
So there's a lot of, great pedigree there. Her father, an international master. Her mom, also a women's international master. Yes. So very strong players there. Saimira and T.S. Ravi, and Rakshita now carrying that legacy forward.
Wow, and she is already a WGM.
Yes.
She's doing a great job at it.
Speaking of a great job, our cameraman is doing a great job. As the players are entering the arena for round 5, is Vishy versus Hans. That center stage, that center court for us. I think the fans watching it live, their eyes are going to be glued on that part of the stage.
Vishy versus Hans, for sure. Yes, for sure. And of course, Wei Yi versus Arjun as well, because I want to see that rematch. I want to see that rematch from the World Cup quarterfinals, because Wei Yi did get the better of him, but Arjun must be feeling in great spirit after taking down Vishy in that way. And also, with Vishy and Hans, both of these players have just committed a huge blunder.
Yes.
So, both of them might not be in the best state.
That is such a great point you make, that what is their psychological mindset right now? And I have a feeling it's harder for Vishy, because Hans made a blunder, let's say, from an equal position. Vishy was winning, hands down winning, when the point slipped out of his hand.
Hands down. He was winning hands down, yes, completely. And what about Hans?
For Hans to go knight g4, I think he just simply had that miss of rook to e5, and it hurts a lot. But for both these players, they need to forget the goldfish memory, and I think that's what they need to rely on right now. The short turnaround time helps in that, because back on the board so quickly. You don't have time to really keep thinking, keep going back on it, keep sort of getting mad at yourself for what happened.
Agreed. If I was in their situation, I would actually watch Hans's game and then I would feel better. Okay, both of us blundered, so it's fine. That kind of levels the odds in that sense.
What a round 4 we've had, and let's see what's in store for us in round 5. We've also got a big clash with Divya taking on Goryachkina. Now that's a World Cup winner versus the Women World Rapid Champion.
Ooh, interesting. So who's your pick there? Had to be asked, come on.
It's going to be a big fight. I think Divya starting with the white pieces here. She drew the first game of the day against Carissa Yip, the tournament leader. And she starts with a king's pawn opening against Goryachkina. I will say, I think Divya has been the one who's showing that maybe slightly better form than Goryachkina, I want to say.
In this event, for sure,
Yes.
because I think Divya also in the morning round, in the first round, she was dominating with the black pieces despite playing Scandinavian. And look at this. This, I believe, is something that Northerbek kind of plays a lot, and Gokesh has been playing this in GCL against Vishy. And now Divya has sort of picked up on it, and now she tries this against Goryachkina. The idea is simple. You just don't want to go into mainstream theory.
And Goryachkina is a beast when it comes to opening preparation. So makes a lot of sense. She's sort of playing against her opponent's one of her strengths. We'll come back to this, Divya, once again with her offbeat opening approach. Let's go to our men's section, some marquee clashes there, and do a quick roundup of the openings in that one. And let's start with what's in front of us. Hans with the white pieces taking on Vishy.
So Hans has played bishop g5. So I just want to mention this point over here. This knight f6 d3. I think we've seen this opening many times already today. Vishy goes bishop c5 and now immediately bishop g5. And I just want to speak about the relevance of this move. Basically, Hans is saying that if you castle, your knight on f6 is forever going to be pinned. So you have to play g5 at some point, and that will create chaos on the board. I think Hans trying to make things dynamic, and Vishy has not budged so far. So he goes d6, d3, and now Vishy is thinking, should I play g5 here immediately or should I castle?
Hans is playing provocative chess here, right? He wants Vishy to take that decision to make sure that we get a very combative middle game. What do you think? Does Vishy fall for that bait? Will he take the fight head on, or after what has just happened wants a slower game?
I mean, Vishy was outplaying, all of his opponents. He was winning even in the game he lost. So I think his confidence must be pretty good. I think he should go g5 and he should try to attack his opponent as much as possible, because that's his style. He likes to attack. What do you think?
I'd love to see g5 on the board.
Feels like you disagree here.
No, I don't. I'm trying to see them and try and understand what probably is going in their minds. I think if Vishy's result in the previous game was different, we would have seen g5 happen already. But
It's a
right
great
now,
point actually. But maybe Vishy is thinking, okay, let me go bishop b6 or bishop a7 and keep g5, for the next move. You can still play it.
and one really does. Sometimes it's so easy to miss the psychological aspect of chess, of the mindset, and there you have it in front. After that hesitation, spending time thinking about the aggressive g5, Vishy does take the more cautious approach.
I think makes a lot of sense. And by the way, we do have a very interesting comment. Hans wished he won and Vishy was winning hands down.
Oh,
Love to see it.
say that again. It's Hans wished.
Hans wished he won. Vishy was winning hands down.
Slow clap.
Beautiful. Love that comment.
Well
by
done,
the way.
chat. I think that's apart from the blunders, that's one of the good things to come out of the action that we saw. Some wordplay there. All right, let's go and continue our opening tour. This one going to be a slow build up with no g5 on the board. We have so many opening leaders, so we'll just go around the horn here. I want to take a look at Vidit versus Praggnanandhaa, because that is a fiery situation. g5 happened on this one, Sahaj.
Ooh. I think, okay, maybe not as aggressive, but with his last move, knight h5, and by the way, look at the time difference between Pragg and Vidit. Pragg having 16 minutes and 20 seconds already, so he is very well prepared and he offers a repetition to Vidit. If you go bishop g3, I will play knight h5. If you go bishop e5, I will play knight hf6, and that's it. I will try to repeat moves. And the question is on Vidit. Does he want to repeat moves? Yes or no?
Should I tell you what I think? I think Vidit repeats here.
No ways. Chat. What do you think?
I'll tell you where I'm coming from on that. I think
No way. No
I'm
way.
trying to understand where I'm coming from that. I'm still trying to understand what made me say it, but it was a feeling. What can I say? What can I say, Sahaj Grover?
No ways. I
What can I
still
say?
don't believe it. No ways. Maybe it's that, like Olympiad team connection that you feel for your teammate, Tanya.
I just think that Vidit also feels that, and
What?
there we have it. We have it, and just like that, this is about to end. We can see it on the play, but it's still not done. Maybe this is the moment, and I'll be proven wrong, and I want to be proven wrong. It's one of those moments where I want the player to fight. I want Vidit to keep this going.
Calling the R. He's looking. Oh, wow. You were
Just that.
right.
I
Wow.
spent a lot
Okay.
of time.
I would love to know how you knew this so quickly, Tanya.
It was a feeling. That's
But
all I can
how
say.
do
I
you-
think it's a good result. The thing is, the tournament's long. It's 3 games every day, and I think this kind of an opening, it's not going to be dynamic. Vidit yesterday as well had a second round draw. I think it's been a good start for him. He's one of the leaders. He wants to play it safe. I would have loved to see him continue because it's right out the opening. It's the whole game in front, but I felt that this is the moment this ends.
Your feeling couldn't be more right. But I'm looking at the chat as well, and everyone is saying no, he's not going to repeat. And I am with you, chat, on this one.
Spent a lot of time as part of the team with all these guys.
Flex, nice flex. I think I still not able to digest it, but yeah, that's going to be a draw. I think it also makes sense because he wants to conserve his energy and go.
Yes.
There's another round to be played, and with that, let's move on to Arjun versus Wei Yi. They have a rematch from their quarterfinals in the World Cup where Wei Yi defeated and took out Arjun's chances to be in the candidates. And this is it.
And that was a big quarterfinals clash just a few months ago in Goa, where he eventually finishing runners-up in that event, booking his spot into the candidates. And for him, what a run it was. And like you said, a bit of a grudge match for Arjun, this one. The way the opening is, and this is something you mentioned earlier, that regardless of who he's playing against, Arjun Erigaisi, regardless of the color, manages to find ways to create chaos. But Sahaj, with the symmetry in the pawn formation, and with Wei being the one who's maybe about to trade queens, are we going to see chaos in this one?
This is why Wei Yi is, I think, a very difficult opponent for Arjun, because Wei Yi is completely the opposite. He likes to keep things calm, solid, and waits for the right opportunity, to strike. But yeah, I feel like we're going into an endgame, a very balanced one. And Arjun not getting that chaotic, imbalanced position that he's always used to, which is not the best sign, but okay, you also have extra 4 minutes.
I want to also point out that Wei Yi is not a player who's going to shy away from complications if it comes to it. That's also suited to his style. But I think going into an endgame, more pieces that are traded off, these sort of super balanced position because of the pawn formation, 4 versus 4, 2 versus 2. Wei Yi feels like he's playing the player as well as the position right now, against the player as well as the position right now. So let's go back to the Hans versus Vishy board. I have my eye on it, and Vishy did play g5 at some point. I want you to go back to the moment bishop b6 happened, and then do an action replay for us.
So this was the position, knight b2 happens, he goes castle, knight f1, and then he plays g5, basically inviting Hans if he wants to take on g5, which by the way is a bad move here. And by the way, I would love to show why this is a bad move, and this is some crazy calculation by Vishy, because look at this, Tanya. Knight g5, edge g5, and bishop takes g5. Chat, black to play and win.
Oh, wow.
And there is just one move. There is just one move.
Great question. Super question by Sahaj. Come on, chat.
Anyone would like to take a guess, because if you don't play that move, then actually Hans is almost winning. But what a tactic it is, Tanya, right?
Beautiful tactic. And the thing is, we've been spotted to so much of this in the first round of the day that I have a feeling our chat is going to be super sharp with it.
I feel that as well. I feel this is one of the tactics you see from the white pieces a lot. But with Vishy sort of provoking Hans to take on g5 is always fun. Has anyone taken a guess yet? Or shall I go ahead? I see it. Some of the
Yes.
people in the chat have guessed the move. You are absolutely correct. It is knight takes e4, sacrificing the queen. And if you go bishop takes d8, and there's a mate in 2 with bishop f2 check, and then bishop g4 checkmate.
Beautiful.
Look at this.
That is stunning.
And I mean, Vishy allowing this, yeah, it's just beautiful. And he goes knight e7. Of course, Hans does not go for it. Vishy was wishing that he would take the pawn, but Hans says no.
You're inspired by our chats.
Yes. Queen d2 happens. He goes king g7, knight e3, knight h5, and he goes long castle.
This is Hans saying that I'm ready for a fight here. You know, you've already overextended with h6, g5, which gives me a direct idea of striking with h4 at the right moment. Watch out for sacrifices on g5. I'm expecting Vishy to place the other knight on g6, trying to control all those ideas. You know, the queen will defend the g5 pawn, the knight will control key squares.
Absolutely. And you will put one of the knights on f4 as well in the later stage of the game. I think one thing is for sure, I think we're going to see a double-edged position, hands down.
Love it. There's no stopping Sahaj Grover today. You know, you're talking about a double-edged position. One way to get it would be to push your f-pawn and go all out on the right flank. Do you think f5 is in the cards at all, or is that just something as a commentator you suggest, but as a player you never play?
For me, this is once again the principle of the golden pawn. I think you should not push it unnecessarily, and I think it weakens your king in the long run. I would maybe consider f5 if I could take the bishop on the knight on e3 and then I could play f5. That seems more plausible. But I don't know, if you didn't mention the idea of f5, Tanya, I would not think about it whatsoever. Like I would play something like bishop e6 and try to keep things balanced. But
Whoa! Vishy, he has forgotten what has happened in that previous round. He's going for an all-out fight now. F5.
Sir. Amazing.
Super
F5,
stuff. Let's go.
Looks like, I mean, the bar said it's a bad move, but I think it's a beautiful one. And now Hans is, I think, in some trouble. He has to make a bunch of accurate moves, as you can see. E takes f5 from the blue arrow is the only move that keeps things balanced.
Vishy just looked up at Hans.
Oh yes, he's ready. I think also maybe, you know, knowing that you're winning in the previous game and then in the final moments it doesn't go your way, it also brings maybe some
like anger, this
yes.
frustration, and you want to use that as fuel for your next round.
Exactly, and I think this is where we see Vishy taking it out.
I mean,
Hands down.
F5 is really something. It's super committal. Vishy has blown forward all the pawns in front of his castle king. He's saying that if you trade on f5 at the end of that set, maybe we can show some lines here. If you do all the trades on f5, I think Vishy's going to be super happy. Knight takes knight, the bishop comes out, and it's beautiful development really. Notice how the dark squared bishop that Hans has is pretty much a killed piece right now. The moment you go h4, you know, you're giving the possibility for the black knight to capture the bishop.
And then you can play something like g4 and okay, these pawns are not really best situated. But yeah, I think your point of having this bishop on g3 is a huge problem. By the way, we are getting some trades on the board. Takes on f5 and black goes knight takes f5, and now the game is on. He goes d4. Oof. Fireworks incoming.
Vishy breaks with f5, Hans breaks with d4 in the center. It's a race to each other's king right now. So pawn takes pawn is the move that you're looking at, or e4. The problem with e4 that I felt was that this is bishop d5 that you have to be really careful about. A double attack, hitting the rook and hitting the pawn. That's the move that discourages me from going e4.
I'm just wondering if I am really slow today or you're really, I mean, this is like, how did you figure this out so quickly? Too sharp
Thank
you
you.
are. I think maybe she's doing her puzzle rush. Yeah?
I did it this morning, you know, and you can win a diamond membership as well if you get it right for our giveaway. Tell us your favorite player without telling us your favorite player. Do it on Twitter. Use the hashtag TSCI2026. We will pick a winner who will win a diamond membership from chess.com as well as some mega cool merch.
Ooh, that will be very, very interesting. And speaking of interesting, Tanya, if I asked you to pick a result here, what would it be for you?
See, that is the one one thing I hate doing. Are these predictions you always keep asking
But
when
you are
you're
in
a
such.
spot.
I mean, you are finding all of these great moves. I
Right.
mean, you are in great shape. I mean, in that sense, just I feel like this is the perfect moment where you
That's
can
the thing that scares me even more to predict anything right now. So, okay, fine.
imagine you say the result and it happens. Just like you did it with Vidit. That's 2-on-2. It's going to be 2-on-2. You can predict all of the rounds.
It's really tough, this position, you know. I really think we have a very big battle ahead. Can you check in with me on the answer for this in a bit? Maybe chat will help me. Chat, why don't you know what? Let's put this out for chat. Let's get a poll going on our chat. Vishy versus Hans. Crazy chaos on the board. Is it a Vishy win? Is it a Hans win? Or does this end in a draw? You know what? I'll make one prediction. This doesn't end in a draw. I think this
I
is going
think
to be a
so.
decisive game.
Agreed.
So we agree on that.
Agreed.
Okay,
Yes.
handshakes.
Agreed on that.
Deal.
I do have a result in mind, but I just want you to say it first.
Oh, let's wait for chat to say it. Okay, so there is a trade on d4, and as this one gears up, I have my eye on the other boards as well, and we've got our bars in front of us. Vidit Pragg has already ended in a draw. Arvind with a slight advantage over Wesley So. Arjun Erigaisi, Wei Yi in the balance. Murzin versus Nihal Sarin in the balance as well. Hans, Vishy. The bar says it's equal. From a human evaluation perspective, it's pure chaos. Said, should we do a roundup of our women boards?
Absolutely. Let's do it. Let's do a quick check-in. And I would love to check with Rakshita Ravi because she's playing against Vantika Agrawal. And Rakshita is on 2.5 out of 4 shows, so only half a point away from the leader. She is unbeaten so far. And to be honest, I like her chances here as well. There is an IQP on the board with the pawn on d5, but look at all of her pieces. The bishop situated perfectly here on a7. Maybe I don't like this bishop on h5 as much, but it does give me the option of taking on f3 and playing d4 at the right moment. By the way, in any IQP positions, you are looking to play the this d4. The basic rule is that if you have an IQP, whoever controls the square in front of it is going to have a good position. And at this point, I think both of them have equal kind of control here. So Rakshita Ravi looking good, Tanya?
I would agree with you. I think especially with the plan that you pointed out, you solved the problem of that weak pawn. If you're able to do that successfully, the position is very balanced. You're out of the opening without too much trouble. Let's check in with Divya versus Goryachkina. And in that one, it continues to be quite a complex battle, that is. You know, with the white bishop on g2, a bishop pair for Divya currently right now, and the bishop on g2 looking very, very nice, in fact. I have to say, it looks advantage Divya to me.
Agreed. And I think that opening sort of deviation kind of paid off. And at some point, I like this knight h4, f4, knight f5 type of ideas where you can really make use of your double bishops. And this would be Goryachkina's, actually it would be her third loss in a row if she loses this. This is huge for Goryachkina.
Yeah, that is not something anyone would have predicted, right? After just winning the World Rapid. But I think that sometimes does happen, you know, when you've had a great tournament, a fantastic tournament, somehow in the very next event, especially if they're closely spaced out, it's not as easy to get the fire going, to get the momentum going. Somewhere in your mind, you're sort of reliving the highs of what has just happened.
Exactly. That, you know, you need that hunger, I feel, to an extent. I think for Arjun, it's a kind of a similar situation because he has just, you know, finished third in both World Rapid and Blitz, and now you could see in the first two games it wasn't the same Arjun. So I think that does play, you know, some part in this position. By the way, speaking of, she just went knight to g1, and I have no clue what this means.
I'll tell you, I think I know what this means. She wants to read out the knight to e2 and she wants to go f4. She wants to open up not only the g2 bishop but the c3 bishop as well, which is eye-lining the king side.
Wow, okay, nice. So maybe knight e2, g4, knight g3 like this, yeah?
No, I was saying knight e2 and maybe f4.
f4 as well. f4 as well.
Or maybe now that you say g4, I like g4 too.
There is this x-ray on the king, which I'm not so sure if I can make any use of it. But right now she goes knight d7, going knight c5, attacking both d3 and a4 at the same time.
Alright, so complex battle this one, Sahaj, is let's quickly check in with Carissa Yip playing Nana Dzagnidze. Nana with a loss against Rakshita in that previous round. For Karissa, it's been a great tournament so far. Both the knights are off the board. Two double pawns for white, a double pawn in the center for Carissa, a total of 3.
We have 3 double pawns.
Beautiful. A triple double?
Triple double.
Should we call it a triple double?
Yes, I think a triple double. Is she a pawn up as well? Yeah, she's a pawn up.
Yes, white. There were so many double pawns, it was hard to tell, but white does have an extra pawn in the position, which has just been picked up.
And
But
now,
b7 is hanging,
exactly.
attacking the rook.
And Carissa Yip, I think, about to be handed her first loss. This looks very, very good for Nana.
Nana doing well in this one. A healthy extra pawn. The b pawn a passer, the a5 weakness that's there that can be easily targeted. Karissa looking at trying to create some counterplay on the king side with a move like h4 to follow up. But Nana in control in this one. So let's go back to our open section. And I want to take us straight to Hans versus Vishy, who I can see in the background here. Vishy just made a move.
And look at this. Vishy is completely outplaying Hans with the black pieces. Vishy could be winning.
What do you have to say about our featured chat? What would you like to say to AnnB0_5?
Sehaj talking about not touching golden pawn and Vishy moves F. Oh, beautiful. I think if anyone can break that, it's Vishy. I mean, if it's Vishy doing it, no problems, yeah. And he's winning as well. Crazy.
Yeah, what a move F5 was. You know what? Because of that feature chat, let's go back to that moment and replay till we got to this point. Vishy now with a big advantage against Hans.
You just want me to live that sort of featured chat again
I do.
and
Again and again and again.
So takes d4 happens. She takes on d4. Pawn takes d4. Knight e3. And takes with the f pawn. Bishop f5. Okay, very normal moves by Vishy so far. Knight f6 taking control of the e4 square. White goes bishop c2. And then knight to e4 happens. And he moves the queen. Black plays queen e7. I mean, it feels like Vishy is completely dominating in the center, especially this e4 square, and this weakness on e3 could be a problem. But wow,
It's
I think
definitely a problem. I mean, this is beautifully done by Vishy. Taking the decision to go f5. Now creating this big, he trades. He's going to centralize. He's just getting pieces off the board. You're left with the bishop versus knight imbalance. You're also looking at the rook lining up with the black queen, putting pressure on the weak point that you highlighted. And the chart agrees with the evaluation here. On Chess24 India poll, it's Vishy Anand getting a 72% win odds here. Hans with 19% and only 9% of the draw. Do you think chart is overestimating Vishy's position at 72%, or would you say it's about right?
last time I said that Vishy has sort of no chances, and then he
Wait,
ended
queen
up.
takes pawn coming in with a check, Sahaj?
Yes, but that's not a good move actually.
He does it.
Was not the best. Okay, still
But it's
pretty
still-
okay.
I mean, that's the move you want to make. Your hand is wanting your hand is wanting to play queen takes pawn.
Yep, this is exactly what he was wishing for. And as he goes back with the queen, retreats it to e6, and now the plan is to go queen f5 and go straight into the endgame.
You're up a pawn, trade pieces. I love it. Why do you not like it? Oh, the blue arrow appears to answer my question before Sahaj can.
Rook d1, by the way, only move. If you don't play rook d1, then Hans is in big trouble. I see that poll with 74% increasing even more. Now, the time situation also for Vishy looking incredible. He has shown some spectacular chess so far. He could be one of the leaders, Tanya.
If he gets the win, I mean, all these players are at 2.5. If he's able to convert this position against Hans, it's confirmed that he goes into the final round of the day as a co-leader at least.
Wow, insane. That too, taking out Hans with the black pieces is...
It's a bit soon right now. After what happened last game, Sahaj, I think this is the kind of format that truly till the last move is played, the game goes on. We saw so many turnarounds in time scramble, and it is an extra pawn for Vishy. But Hans will move that rook to e1. I'm trying to understand what's the difference between the f and the d rook. Is it just that the f rook is already very actively placed? You want to get the other one there? Also taking away queen f6?
I'm guessing after rook f e1, you don't necessarily have to go queen f5. You can play queen f7, queen g6.
Yes.
maybe even queen c4 is possible. And the problem is that once you trade these queens off the board, when you play rook e7 check, you want the rook to be on f1, where it creates discover attack ideas along the f7 square. So this is why rook de1 is really, really important for Hans to play, hands down.
All right, guys. So Vishy with the edge in this one. By the way, Arvind with an advantage against Wesley. Let's check in on that board. Wesley So currently with a very solid performance. He's on 2.5. So on the leaderboard, right up there after a first round loss against Vishy. Suffering in this position with the black pieces. I mean, the bishop on f8, the rook on h8, so far behind in development. You don't even have an extra pawn to show for it.
Yeah, this feels sad. And I'm again thinking about that point you made with that knight on f5, yeah? When there is a knight on f5, you never like the position. And I think in this case, in Arvind's case, it is 100% true. What do you even play here? You can't move g6, f6 is hanging. You can't move the bishop, the g7 pawn is hanging. All of your pieces are pretty much paralyzed. You need 2-3 moves at least to free yourself. He goes rook e3, best move in the position.
Doesn't really solve the problems, you know. You get a pair of rooks off the board, but the problem is the other rook. How do you get it into the game is what Wesley is struggling with right now. So Arvind with the advantage here. Saj, let's check in with Arjun versus Wei Yi. You know, it's a matchup that you've been talking so much about because of the history from Goa World Cup. And Wei Yi, he's on aggressive mode. Look at that pawn storm. It's a connect 3 laterally on the right flank.
Wei just goes into these simplified endgames, and
I told you he's going to trade off the queens as quickly as possible with Arjun.
Now he is putting the pressure on Arjun. He has a good position for now, and with his last move, it is very clear that it is Wei Yi who's trying to play for a win.
Question: where is Arjun's counterplay? He first stops the activity a little bit on the right side, says, I'm not going to allow g4. If you play it now, I get an open h line for my rooks.
And the h7 pawn hangs. Also, like, positionally speaking, g4 wouldn't make a lot of sense because you always want to make captures towards the center.
I have a feeling if Arjun hadn't stopped it, maybe Wei Yi would have gone for the g pawn, the h pawn, g4, h5, h4, everything 4.
He plays e4. He still says, okay, I can still put at least one pawn on the 4th rank. Maybe f4 also incoming, Tanya.
I have a feeling the plan for Wei Yi here is he wants to trade the bishop with bishop f6. Then he might even trade the knight with knight e5 and then look at infiltrating with the rook on that d2 square. Get the bishops off the board first. It's the most active piece that Arjun has. It's a key defender in the position.
So clinical, actually. Take away the first defender, take away the second defender, and then infiltrate.
But unfortunately, White will also make moves, you know. If only chess was this simple.
I think Arjun will definitely find some counterplay here and there, but I do like the idea of bishop f6. He goes knight d2. I'm guessing he wants to place his knight on b3 and maybe to d4 now that the d4 square is vacant.
Also, this move discourages bishop f6 because knight b3 comes with a c5 check forking idea.
Oh.
So this might be a hidden agenda of Arjun's knight retreat.
There is another very crazy move here possible for Arjun. It's the move that
Wei Yi, you mean?
No, it's for Arjun. But Wei Yi was thinking about playing this move, but now Arjun can play it himself.
g4?
Exactly.
g4 for the score.
Huge threat here in this position
That's
because
actually very nice.
I mean, the moment you see it,
Yes.
it looks great for Arjun. Yeah, if you take out this pawn on e4, then I think Arjun's chances really increase.
How are you evaluating everything? The bar says it's completely level. At first, optically, I thought Wei Yi with the space advantage, the rook planted on d3, the knight potentially coming to e5. I liked Wei Yi's chances, but this very practical threat of g4, it confuses me a little bit. And I think it's not as level as the bar indicates.
Yeah, sure. I think with g4 incoming, Arjun's chances are fully back in this game.
Oh, Sahaj, meanwhile, turn around in the Vishy game. Or not actually. I think Vishy's still doing well.
Wow.
Let's head back. I saw a rook on e7 and that terrified me a little bit. But Vishy's still up a pawn.
We saw from the blue arrow, g4 was the move. And he goes rook f7. Still, I think a pretty decent move. I think Vishy is just trying to say, let's trade off these rooks. I'll bring the other rook to f8. Let's play rook f7 and let's trade all the rooks. I'm an extra pawn up. I should be winning that.
I like it.
I think
I
it's a
like
good,
it.
simple, yeah.
It's not, even if it wasn't the best move, I think from a human point of view, from a human perspective, this is what you want. You're up a pawn, you trade pieces, you neutralize pressure, you're not allowing any rook d7, rook e7 stuff. Meanwhile, Hans, he's getting the other rook in, he's threatening some checks, he's attacking the h6 pawn.
By the way, huge mistake this was, because now I'm trying to make sense of it. I've already seen the move. Okay, he takes it. Wow, that was the best move. Vishy
He trades.
about to have a winning advantage if he finds the next move. And that move is g4, by the way. Or rook f8 also works. Played! Wow!
What? Oh, that was a little glitch. I'm done with blunders for the day.
The previous game also, it was a rook for Vishy's game, yeah?
Okay, he slides the rook into activity. Now g4 is the big threat, right, for
Yes.
black. And look at that bishop on b6. It not only attacks d4, it defends c7. Rook also threatens to go to f7. If the rooks are off the board, this is completely winning for black. You're up a pawn, you'll slowly bring your king towards the center, you'll kick the knight out, you'll win that d4 weakness. I really like this move. And Vishy with that power statement of sip of water, you know, it just means I'm relaxed. I know this is a matter of technique, and I got this.
Wow.
Will Vishy do this? Will he convert this one, Saj?
Okay, I think rook f7 might not be the best move, because you can potentially put up a fortress along the light squares. Like if I can get d5 and g4 in, then you won't be able to infiltrate on the king's side or in the center. So maybe if Vishy manages to keep the rooks alive, perhaps something like g4 and then go rook f2, then yes, I think his chances are very much alive here.
Say for the rook is what it felt from that hand movement. No, it's the other side of the board. He pushes the a pawn first, slowly improving the position on the left flank.
This gives Hans just the chance to play g4 though. That's might be a bit.
For some reason, Vishy doesn't want to make that committal move g4. He feels like that's a weakness. Maybe he doesn't like that pawn can be targeted. He wants to keep everything under control.
Right, I think that makes a lot of sense. And there we have a featured chat saying go Vishy. And I think we're also rooting for Vishy in this sense, because he's one of the tournament leaders. He has played spectacular so far. All games he has more or less outplayed his opponent. And now he has a golden opportunity to take down Hans Niemann with the black pieces.
Do you like Akshay Kumar?
Oh yes, I think he's great. But and what about you?
An actor.
Brilliant actor. What's your favorite movie of Akshay Kumar?
Has to be Welcome, no?
Oh, Welcome.
Funniest movie ever. Okay, so Hans gets his king to the center of the board. And that looks like a very active piece. He's playing on the light squares right now. Is this another moment, another opportunity for Vishy to go g4? But the fact that he hasn't played in the last few moves, Saj, makes me feel like Vishy doesn't want to commit to that g-pawn moving forward.
G4 looks very good, but also A4 looks good. A4, rook f. You want to play rook f2 at the right moment and put pressure on the b2 and a2 pawns. So you can play g4 at some point. You know, with his last move, king e4, Hans has said, I will never play g4 myself because there's rook f4 check incoming.
Now, especially that the king is on e4. You know what Hans wants to do? He wants to go king d5, king c6 and really use his king as the most aggressive piece in the position.
Wow.
He's not going to stop at e4. Alright, while this endgame is going to be a grind, Vishy on the advantage. He's pushing for a win here. Let's do a quick roundup on all our boards. Sahaj, Wesley has made a comeback in his game against Arvind. He's got the bishop pair. Let's jump to that board right now. We'll go quickly over this. He's playing with the bishop pair, the rook very active on e5, controlling the open line. The black bishop looking at lining itself on g7 on a beautiful diagonal eventually. And somehow things have gone wrong for Arvind.
I'm not even sure which color I'm choosing here.
I'm picking black. I'm super biased to the bishop pair.
But this knight on d4 looks pretty strong, no? I can put my knight on c5, maybe play c3, something like this.
Alright, so you're saying that both sides have their...
Yeah, but easy to go... I think it's much easier to go wrong with white here.
He goes a3 and he first consolidates. Alright, so let's just say that this is a double-edged endgame, Sahaj. Arjun versus Wei Yi, meanwhile. The bishops did get traded off. The plan that we were talking about has happened on the board.
But he has this pawn on c3. Which
Just go back to where we left it and let's see how we got here.
is e4, knight d2 happens, bishop f6, knight b3, he takes. Arjun recaptures with the rook, takes again and pawn takes c3 and just king f6. Basically, I think the position is equal. Arjun getting knight d4 in. I think we are just seeing a very healthy draw here.
Yes.
Maybe Arjun also has some chance to win because black has overextended on the king side a bit.
And especially if you go knight takes knight, you capture in the center, then you've got this rook b1 ideas, you play for this b file. I still think this one ends in a draw. I'm only worried about Wei Yi's clock here. Wei Yi instead targets the c pawn indirectly right now. Threatening knight takes knight, threatening knight a5 ideas, but most likely to end in a draw this one.
I think possible, yes, possible. Because Wei Yi is ice cold when it comes to having, low time on the clock.
Nihal Sarin, meanwhile, is also putting pressure on Volodar Murzin's clock, Sahaj. What do you make of this endgame?
I just think Volodar is having a really bad tournament so far. And yeah, I think Nihal has another golden chance to win this match, for sure. I think he started off the day by defeating Hans, and now I think he could be one of the leaders.
What a nightmare this has been for Murzin, the tournament so far. Nihal fully locked in. Let's go back to Hans versus Vishy. Said moves are coming in fast and quick. Once again, Vishy with a 2-minute clock advantage. He did commit to g4. Hans looks like he's creating some dynamics on the king side there. The knight about to join in from that dreaded f5 square. Vishy slides in the rook on the second rank. He's targeting all of Hans's pawns.
To be in fact, and also rook e2 check is a great threat
Oh,
here.
that's a huge threat.
What do you even play here? Is Hans just done? The knight f5 is not good because this rook takes b2 hanging and it's supposedly winning. The only move here is knight g6, which I don't see the point of.
He does it. He goes for knight to g6, or is that your analysis?
No, that's my analysis.
Okay.
This is the only move in this position that kind of does not lose for Hans. And I'm sorry, but I'm not even sure why I would consider this move knight g6. Knight f5 just looks way more natural, no?
Knight f5, then you're allowing rook e2 check, and you'll have to come back, or you go forward with your king anyways. Same idea.
Yeah. A bit of a strange decision for Hans and not an easy one.
Not an easy one. Where to place the knight? I think intuitively I agree with you. You want to put it on f5, you're targeting h6, you're defending your rook.
Knight f5 is what I would play here, I think. Makes a lot of sense. Also, you want to take the pawn on h6, give some checks, put the king forward. And yeah, I mean, hope for the best, but...
Meanwhile,
Knight
we're
G6
getting
looks-
also an update that in our women's section, Harika's game has ended in a draw. Sahaj, that is against Kateryna Lagno. Nana Dzagnidze completely crushing against Carissa Yip.
Wow, let's take a quick look and see what's happening.
Jump to that board.
Wow, the tournament leader Carissa Yip about to be handed her first defeat against Nana.
Everything we spoke about, the B pawn has gone up the board, the A5 pawn falls, and there isn't any tangible big attack against the white king. That H3 pawn is actually helping Nana. That is like the umbrella that you want for your king, making sure that Karissa has no inroads towards the white king.
Exactly. I mean, if this pawn didn't exist, then you could have some attack along the H file, but now it's nothing.
Nana doesn't even care. She literally doesn't care. She doesn't even think about capturing it with the queen, which would have left the E2 pawn hanging. She opens up the G line. In fact, it's going to be her rook that slides over. Nana Dzagnidze in a commanding advantage here. Aleksandra Goryachkina also with a winning position against Divya.
Oh, wow. Goryachkina. Wow, there's E3 incoming, Tanya, and it's completely winning. The idea is after E3 you take, you give a check, and then queen just jumps to G3 and wow, this is just dominating.
Okay, E3 is a beautiful move, but how easy or difficult is it to spot this move, this pawn sacrifice? Because that pawn looks like the jewel in black's position, and you're kind of just giving it away, understanding the strategic idea, and maybe now she'll go for it. Now that the queen has landed on the diagonal, to push that pawn on E3 and get your queen in.
Oh yes, E3 makes a lot of sense now. And to explain this, F2 is the golden pawn. You have to move that pawn, otherwise it's not winning.
Sahaj, Hans placed the knight correctly. He went in with the G6 square. Let's rush straight back. Knight G6 happened. Hans Niemann is giving up all the pawns. He's going for Vishy's king. He's going for counterplay on the king side. And now does he continue marching his king up? Is it going to be king, knight and rook? Giving up all your pawns, one by one.
He's hoping for some kind of a perpetual check with the rook and the knight, but not easy.
Wow. Vishy's going to
Knight
pick up.
F4, okay, that's
He comes back.
mistake for sure.
He's trying to set up some checking ideas, you know. There are patterns that you can repeat once that knight lands on h5 or d5, giving checks to the king, to the black king,
Wait.
trying to repeat.
Is Vishy repeating? Because knight g6, he just went king f8 and now knight g6 check.
He's just gaining time on the clock.
But
Please tell me he's gaining time on the
it's
clock.
Hans who needs the time, not Vishy.
Okay, now the question is, does Vishy repeat this position? And Sahaj, my feeling is,
I feel like you're the best person to answer this question.
this game goes on. Come
Okay.
on, Vishy. I think he continues this. He continues to fight for the win here. Oh gosh, I really want to be, this time I want to be proven right.
I
What
think
do you
Vishy
think?
will take on. I mean,
What
I
do
don't
you
know.
think?
King f5, king g6 looks very dangerous.
It does, you're right. It almost looks like your king is getting trapped. Saj, but guess what? He's reaching for the rook, come on. And he doesn't repeat.
I think Hans had offered him a draw, and Vishy just looked at him and said, "No, I want to play." So, props to
Let's
Vishy.
go, game on. Game on is what Vishy's saying.
Let's go. So king f5 now.
Love it.
Move.
Love to see it.
Okay.
But can you give a check on d4? But then you're only allowing the white king to move forward. That knight on f4, it defends that d5 pawn. How is Vishy? The thing is, it starts looking a little scary for that black king here. You know, there's king f5, king g6, knight jumping in, the rook on e7. You're up 2 pawns with checkmating ideas, and you can feel the tension on Vishy.
You know, black has 2 moves in this position. One is king f8, which allows this knight g6 check, which we just looked at, and Vishy denied it. And the other move is rook takes a2, and now he doesn't play it. And this is what my point was, that rook a2 is such a difficult move because you just played rook d2.
Going for the g3 pawn, and Hans, he continues his plan. He's coming for that lone king on g8. What is Vishy's defensive resource? He's picking up the g3 pawn. Hans will now go ahead with his knight, but the d5 pawn hangs with a check as well. Knight d6 only move?
Yes. Not king g6, yeah?
And you know what the idea is? Knight e6, rook takes pawn, king g6, and you're setting up all these checks. You're setting up...
No, sorry.
No, knight e6, Saj.
King, rook d5 and this king g6, and suddenly it's white who is winning.
Because there's rook e8 checkmate, and I don't see a way to stop it.
Very, very nice. So if you play knight e6 in this position, by the way, Vishy has just one move.
I'm trying to find the chart. What is it? Because king g6.
It's very, very difficult. Yeah, it's actually...
Hans is reaching out for a knight. Knight e6 happens. Vishy has only one move, Sahaj. What is it?
It's actually rook f2 check. And if you go king g6, can you find it, Tanya?
Rook f6? No.
Exactly.
Oh, rook f6, bishop h4, and the king cannot stay connected to the white rook.
Exactly. But okay, still, I mean, I'm not sure if this is...
You have a lot of pawns here. This Vishy is pushing because of the b and the a pawn. You go
Yeah.
b4, a4, b3, b2.
You can play knight d4 and knight c6 too and just take one of the pawns.
But you're
This-
not losing this as black.
No, you're not losing this for sure. So now Vishy has a difficult choice. He has to go rook f2 and
Is
rook
that the
f6.
only move? Everything else loses? Or what?
There's another move which is even more unlikely, which is bishop h4. I don't know if he plays that.
Bishop h4 isn't super unlikely.
I mean, you can give a check, no? And then you can play king g6. And now I have these repetition ideas here.
Yes. Okay, rook f2, rook f6. That is a tactical genius, and Vishy is one. He has spotted this so incredibly sharp as Vishy Anand.
Beautiful, beautiful. King g6 now only move.
That what if I'm
Oh,
Vishy?
what?
Okay, this has to have surprised Vishy a little bit.
No, I
Hans
think
said Hans had
thought-
spotted rook f6.
Yeah, but I think he thought that endgame was losing for
Yes,
him.
because spotting knight c6 idea in the end is not easy, and you're just looking those queenside pawns going up the board. Vishy once again with a winning advantage.
Wow. He goes g3, defends the pawn on a2, and now it's a golden opportunity to take this pawn on a2. And you can never be afraid of this king f5, king g6 anymore, because guess what? I always have.
Rook to f6 check, driving the king away. In
Exactly.
fact, he comes back, offers that rook trade. And if the rooks are off the board, it's that b and a pawn that's going to start marching up. So Hans has to keep his chances alive. He can't trade. The king goes to h7. Now the king is completely safe. Saj, Vishy is winning one more time.
Is there a repetition? Knight f8, knight e6? Oh, he goes rook b8. Does not go for it. Now b4 is
The
possible.
black king would have come out to f6 in that case.
So no repetition incoming. And now I think Vishy is safe, yeah? Completely safe. b4 is beautiful.
Oh,
He
look
goes
at
king
that.
g6, okay.
He's saying, take my queen side. I'm going to drive your king back. The rook will enter to f3, h5, rook f3, win that g3 pawn.
Amazing. And by the way, Wesley So has just defeated Arjun Chithambaram with the black pieces. That's an update.
Big win for Wesley, who's up on the leaderboard after that first round loss. Vishy now centralizing the king. Will he join Wesley with 3.5 points?
Goes rook h8, attacking the pawn on h6. No, and now I feel like this move like c5 is very... Oh, actually he plays it. Wow. Okay, now I think Vishy will win. When you get c5 in, I think you have now these 3 pawns.
That's a stunner. Yes.
Just push this pawn down, basically.
Yeah.
And that's
It's
it.
3 versus 1 on that flank. And all your pieces are on the right side if you're Hans right now.
Can I go knight c5 though?
It's going to take a blunder to lose this one. Knight takes pawn.
Doesn't go for it.
I think the reason is that he would have just simply captured it, gone for that endgame. 3 versus 1 would still be so strong, Sahaj.
Absolutely. And by the way, Nihal has also defeated Volodar Murzin with
Wow,
the black
what-
pieces. 2 updates.
Huge win for Nihal.
Beautiful.
And for Murzin, the nightmare continues.
Wow.
Only
Half
a
point.
single draw. And Vishy is just picking pawns after pawns, but this one allows Hans with a chance and he's reaching for the rook. Why is this so strong for white?
Because if the bishop was on e5, you could not get access to the 8th rank anymore because you had this rook g5 check ideas.
And once again, the king, knight, and the rook are going to combine. He's going to slide the rook to the other flank and start checking for them from the 7th rank.
This and this check is what Tanya is talking about.
Hans Niemann back in the game. A slight inaccuracy by Vishy, picking up that pawn. One too many.
Oh yes, but maybe it's still not over. I think still he has good chances. Bishop e5, very logical.
Rook takes knight is a threat. Hans will slide the rook all over to the queen side.
Rook a8 maybe or rook b8. Both of them possible. Goes rook b8.
And says there's a threat. Rook b7, knight e6 is a threat. Wait, what? Rook b7? The rook is defended.
Yes.
Almost got a little bit.
That's why I think he put the bishop on e5 to defend the rook on g7. So basically if you give a check on b7, I go king e8
Only move.
and then king d7 basically.
Okay, that's how Vishy will hide from the checks. He'll play on the light squares. Hans attacks the a5 pawn. A mistake here right now. Hans is playing with seconds on the clock.
Yes. And
Vishy, he continues to be the lightning kid.
crazy. And if you go rook takes a5 now, there's king c7 or king c8. Both of them.
How is he playing so fast, Sahaj, and so accurate right now?
4 seconds.
Makes a move with 4 seconds on the clock, Hans Niemann. Vishy, he's getting his king to the right, to the left. The right flank? The left flank.
Right flank. Left flank for white, yeah. And now king c7 also is possible, I think.
He just wants to place it on b7. He wants to push the c and the b pawn. The white knight is about to jump into e6.
Goes rook a6. Now king b7 is just winning for him.
Okay, Vishy will find that. He got the king all the way to that side.
Wow.
He's reaching for the king. He's going to play it.
Beautiful. And look at that.
Drives the rook away. And that's the head nod by Vishy saying he's calculated this one.
Yep, he knows he's winning now.
Saj, what is the easiest path to win right now? How do you finish this off? You simply trade the rooks and there's no way to hide from this exchange.
We just go on this long walk on a5, a4, a3 and you just take this pawn and that's it. No counterplay for Hans.
Forced to trade the rooks off the board, the last surviving hope for Hans Niemann. And with that, Vishy's king is about to march up the board and assist the c and the b pawn to their queening destiny.
Beautiful. Beautiful conversion by Vishy there.
Amazing.
Goes king e4.
He's trying to get the king back to defense.
e4, clinical.
Taking away the d3 square.
Yep, so there's no fortress on the board. Goes knight f7, attacking this bishop.
The question is, do you care? Because knight takes bishop. I think you can just continue with your king.
Exactly. That marathon, yeah, that long walk.
Hans is trying to play fast, trying to look for those tricks, trying to create something with his knight. But too few resources remain.
Set up a nice tactic here. If you play king a5, then knight c6 check might be dangerous. So he has to go king b5 and played.
Yeah, and then you come back, you come up to a4.
Goes knight c6. Now
If you go to a4, knight takes bishop, pawn takes knight, d6. A bit of calculation might be required.
Yes. Unnecessary. Just move the bishop. That's it.
He agrees with you, Sahaj, and he brings the bishop as far away from the white knight as possible. So some great instructive play there. That bishop will not be attacked for a really long time now.
Absolutely. And by the way, we're getting an update. Arjun is defeating Wei Yi with the white pieces, so that's huge.
Arjun was a completely winning position in his game. But Sahaj, let's go back and watch the end of Vishy versus Hans. The bishop h8 played the c pawn, but that would allow the white king to come to defense. And also Divya's game I see at the background just finishing up. Divya versus Goryachkina. It was Goryachkina who gets the win in that one. And I love this screen because we can see Arjun and Wei Yi right behind there.
Amazing.
We know when that one ends. Arjun's the one pushing for a win. And it's all eyes on Vishy.
Goes bishop f6, attacks the knight on d8. Now, if you go knight f7 now, there's just king c5, and that's it. No more checks.
And that's the only square that you bring your knight to, and Vishy, he's ready with his response. You defend that d6, and b3 is coming, Sahaj. If you move your king too far away, king f5, there's b3 that wins the game.
Great fun. I think you can play b3 anyways.
But then you've got takes, king d3.
King b4, king a3, push.
Oh, that isn't as simple as that. You just do it now? Is
Yes.
b3 game over?
Yes, it is, basically.
And Wei Yi, meanwhile, has just resigned against Arjun. Huge win for Arjun. I have to say, Arjun, a comeback day 2 for him. You know, a miracle saves him against Vishy, and then he takes down his World Cup nemesis, Wei Yi. So 2
Wow.
back-to-back wins.
Crazy. 4 out of 4, yeah, he is now, after losing the first 2 matches.
3 out of 3.
3 out of 3. The first match he won against Nihal, and then 2 wins today.
He's gone for your idea. That's it. Vishy's coming with the B pawn. He's done this so well. It's been a beautiful convert with him. King will move forward. Hans will be forced to give up his knight for that pawn. The bishop on e5 guards d6 beautifully. If you go b2 right now, there's king c2. Look at this. And this is where Hans, I think he's going to resign really soon now. Knight c3, king goes to a1. White will be forced. Even
He was
comes
king
back with the king.
b3, now knight b1 is possible, but okay, this is a theoretically winning position.
Theoretically, but
Yeah,
practically,
bishop
what's the
c1.
plan? Oh, you're just making White's king step away,
Exactly.
forcing White's king to move away.
One thing that one thing that knights cannot do is lose a tempo. That's what Vishy is capitalizing on.
Alright, but where is your way to force the king to step back? Because Hans has this idea of just going knight c3, knight b1.
I believe. Bishop c5, bishop b4.
You believe in Vishy.
Exactly. Hands down.
I think he's going for your idea. He'll plant that bishop on b4, and Hans knows it, that this is over. Knight b1, and did you see that? Did you see that reaction he had? And that's it. He'll resign because there's nothing more to be played against the 5-time world champion who gets the win against Hans Niemann. What a performance by Vishy, this one.
Wow. Incredible. Incredible. So now he's one of the leaders alongside Nihal and Wesley. But wow, Vishy having that one loss which he was winning as well. It is crazy to think about.
Fantastic form here by Vishy, and I think this is what we were all looking forward to see. I mean, him coming back, taking this battle, taking the stage to fight against, the youngsters, the big golden generation, and he goes into the final round of day 2 as one of the leaders, and the style with which he's done it in. This is where we stand in both our tournaments right now. Look at that name at the top on that left side. It is none other than Vishy Anand. 3.5 points along with Wesley So and Nihal Sarin. Half a point behind. Said a very closely contested battle with Arjun, Vidit and Pragg. The 3 Indians chasing.
Wow. I mean, it couldn't be closer than this. But I mean, it's amazing to see Vishy at the top of the leaderboard after basically we're almost halfway done with the rapid section.
And speaking of how close it is, look at the women's section. There's only a half a point difference all through top to bottom there. But there's one leader, Kateryna Lagno. She's a multiple-time world women blitz and rapid champion. She's also had some great performances in Kolkata. She leads with 3.5 points, which is half a point behind. You've got 3 players there. And then another half a point difference with Aleksandra, Stavroula and Rakshita in the mix. Anyone's tournament.
Basically, I think Lagno right now leading think that's great, but still, I think the winner or sort of the leader is not decided in my eyes. I feel like in the next round there might be some ups and downs.
Twists and turns is what we've come to expect at the Tata Steel Chess India Rapid. What a tournament this has been so far. Vishy Anand at the top, 3 players sharing the lead. Arjun Erigaisi with his comeback. Wesley So with his comeback in the tournament. Nihal Sarin, a last-minute replacement in the Open, is one of the leaders
Wow, that's the ultimate, I think, flex right there. I mean, and let's not forget the match that he lost against Arjun. He was also winning that match, so he could be, just a sole leader with a 1 point difference in this, when we approach halfway in this rapid section. But wow, what a performance by Nihal, showing that he belongs here.
I'm just still thinking about Vishy's conversion in this endgame and refusing to repeat the position and going for the win and getting the job done. Just so incredible this has been. We remind everybody of our incredible giveaway as well. Tell us your favorite player without telling us your favorite player. Tweet your answers. Use the hashtag TSCI2026 and you stand a chance at winning a diamond membership at chess.com and some very cool merch coming your way from Tata Steel Chess India. The final round of day 2 rapid is coming up. And the way we've set up our leaderboard in the Open and the women, that's one you absolutely don't want to miss. Stay tuned with us. Buckle up, fasten your seatbelts. It's the final round of the day, and what a round we have on our hands because we cannot wait to show you the pairings and the matchups. Let's start with our open section. It is the final round 6 of day 2 here. Had so many stories screaming at me from the matchups that we are seeing. What stands out to you?
I think it's the most experienced player and the youngest player playing against each other. Vishy versus Volodar Murzin, and of course Vishy is one of the leaders, and Volodar is still looking to make that first win. So that's going to be a very important one, and I think a good opportunity for Vishy to take over and be the sole leader at the end of day 2. So that's the match that I would be really looking forward to. And another one, Tanya, is between Arvind and Arjun, because Arjun is on a run. He is on a goated run, and I feel that there's nothing that can stop him.
And in fact, it's Arvind and Murzin who are currently on half out of 5. It's been an absolutely disastrous tournament for them so far. This is where we stand on that leaderboard. And as you pointed out, for Vishy Anand at the top with 3.5 points, it is a big opportunity to end day 2 on a high as a leader. He's playing the one at the bottom of the scoreboard right there. You know, Sahaj, something at the start of the day you mentioned that Wesley So is a player that you feel will have a performance today, and that's exactly what he's shown. He's at 3.5 right now. A big matchup coming up for him as well as he takes on Praggnanandhaa.
Absolutely. I think this is a good opportunity for Wesley as well to take over against Pragg, as since his first loss to Vishy in the first round with the black pieces, he has basically scored 3.5 out of taking out Murzin, Wei Yi and Aravindh Chithambaram in the process, and making only just one draw with the white pieces. And now he has Pragg, who is also having a decent event. He's at 3 out of 5, but for Wesley, playing with the white pieces, this is a golden opportunity. I believe it's a golden opportunity for all the leaders to take over.
And for Arjun, like you said, he's playing against Arvind, you know, a player who is right now struggling. Who is right now struggling in the tournament. Arjun with the black pieces looking to get that win in our women's section. As we see the girls arrive one by one, this is where we stand. Tournament leader currently, Kateryna Lagno. She is half a point ahead than the rest of the field, and we saw her there. Let's bring up our matchups as we see them come and take their places. A big final round of the day for Kateryna because she's playing one of the players against whom she's a big rating favorite.
Oh, yes.
Stavroula.
Absolutely. And I think, again, a golden opportunity for her. But Stavroula has been, making upsets in this tournament. And I think she should, for me, it's not a clear match. But I also want to keep a close eye on Rakshita's game, because she, I think, has a very interesting match today against Vaishali, who has not been in the best shape, and this could be the moment where Rakshita scores her second win.
Now, what a tournament this has been so far for Rakshita. The same cannot be said for Divya right now. She has struggled, but in these formats, you get a win against a player like Nana, and you're right back in action. But Nana with a fantastic win in the previous round against Goryachkina. She's looking in hot form right now. And there we see, right up front, it's Vidit versus Nihal. That's going to be a fantastic battle. Both players showing incredible form in the tournament so far. And Sahaj, it's handshakes. We are off.
Absolutely. He's adjusting his pieces. Which piece is he going to move first? D4 or E4? Most players have been going for E4 so far, the King's Pawn opening. But Nihal, he's thinking on the first move itself. That's interesting to me.
And that just goes to show that that's a player who has so many weapons in his repertoire, in his arsenal, that he can decide, do I start with the queen's pawn, the king's pawn, maybe the bishop's pawn, maybe c4. In the end, it is going to be d4, the move of choice, and Vidit starts with the knight coming out. We're going to see a Grunfeld.
London. Come on, Nihal.
Nihal
right. Is a specialist of London. He goes d5, and this is the moment. Oh, he goes c4. No London today, but we might see a Catalan or a QGD, and Catalan it is.
So the first few seconds that Nihal took at the start of the game, I think it's not just thinking about, do I start with e4, d4? It sort of goes further down, and he blitzes out the Catalan opening. That is the choice that he's gone with. Let's continue our opening tour. Sahaj, let's move on to Hans versus Wei Yi. That one in action. What do you make of this?
I think all the pieces, nothing has been traded so far. I think Hans has gone for the semi-Slav opening there. At some point, Hans would want to play c5 to try and break open the position. And if c5 is not possible, then he should try to play e5 at some point in order to break through. Right now, Wei Yi goes bishop b2, doing a fianchetto, black short castle, and goes bishop d6. And I'm kind of worried of this move g4. I don't know about you, Tanya, but if I'd be worried before castling on the short side because I will always think white can go g4 here.
That's a great point you make. But I think Hans, he's reaching for the king. He believes that after g4, because the flexibility in the center, it's probably a plan that will backfire. Pawn takes pawn c5, opening up the bishop if the knight on f3 is left spot soft. I want to add that for both Wei Yi and Hans, they're coming out of brutal losses, I want to say. You know, for Wei Yi going down to Arjun Erigaisi, just the way, the nature of the game, that it was very dynamic, but in the end it was all Arjun. And then for Hans, we saw what happened against Vishy, losing that endgame and Hans having a reaction at the end of it where he couldn't believe it when the final move was played, that he lost that.
Absolutely. And by the way, for Hans, this has been a disastrous day too because he has lost against Nihal and Vishy back to back, and now he's playing against Wei Yi with the black pieces. So it's not a great situation to be in. For Hans, he was a tournament leader after day one finishes, and now he's at 50%.
All right, let's see if he's able to finish on a high and turn that around. Let's move over to the legend who's playing like an absolute beast here in Kolkata. Vishy Anand, he's really schooling the kids, as our chat is mentioning. And well, Volodar Murzin, he's been struggling. Will Vishy's form continue in this one? Vishy playing with white?
I think so far Volodar has been playing pretty quickly, but I'm guessing this is the first moment he thinks. And Vishy still more or less looks like he is in his prep. And this is once again one of those positions where you want to capture on f6 and then you want to put your knight on d5 at some point. And then I think Vishy will be more or less comfortable, I think, with that setup. So I'm going with Vishy on this one. I think he has a good chance of taking Murzin out.
So I'll just point out that in this opening, it's all about, once again, the d5 square, right? Who is able to control it? Who's able to occupy it? If black is able to break free with d5, Murzin would be a super happy camper. Meanwhile, for Vishy, he's planted all of his forces against it, the bishop, knight, pawn, and rook. You might even see him doubling up on that d line. It's not just about the d6 weakness, but the square in front of it.
Exactly. And I mean, if you give me the time, maybe it's not correct, but if you give me the time, I will go knight here, knight here, knight here. And, then it's just going to be a dream position for any, Sicilian player playing with the white pieces. So, looking solid for Vishy so far, but okay, still early days. Let's see how this match unfolds. Is there any other match that catches your attention, Tanya?
Well, let's continue because it's early opening days, and an opening that does catch my attention is in fact Wesley So versus Praggnanandhaa, because Wesley has managed to get his pawn all the way up to c5, gaining space on the queen side, eyeing ideas like b4, a4, b5, a5 really coming for it. Pragg immediately strikes with b6.
Surely you cannot play b4 because now the problem is black can play a5. It's a very typical trap. If you play a3 now, black can capture, and this rook on a1 is not defended. Now, had my bishop been on b2, then you could play this sequence of moves with b4. But since that is not possible, you have to capture, and he does. And black goes a takes b6, and now short castle, and this is the current position. Wesley looking, I think, pretty solid so far.
But I also find Pragg's position quite healthy. The rook on 8 without making a single move almost feels developed. You have the break of c5 later on in the game. No big weaknesses to talk of. Far away, but I want to point out the more pieces that get traded off. Imagine if you go into an endgame, then I would agree with you. I think Wesley might even look at the a passer becoming a key piece. And I know that's a far way off because God did place the opening in the middle game before the endgame. So we'll see how this one progresses. But let's continue with our final opening in the open section, Arvind versus Arjun, and that's a super fun one.
Of course, it's Arjun. Every single game. Of course, he has gone for short castle and g5 yet again. And he has the position that he feels super comfortable in. And by the way, for Arvind, this has not been a great tournament. In fact, he has had 4 losses back to back, which is painful.
Okay, this is such a great visual that we have in front of us right now before we deep dive into the position. You know, you've got Arjun versus Arvind. Right at the back, you've got Vishy on the board in action. Up front, you've got Hans versus Wei Yi. I mean, such exciting names. And then you've got the auditorium there and fans. It's late in the evening, but here they are enjoying chess.
Amazing, yes. I mean, especially the fans, I think. That's what I really like. Action-packed, completely full house. Love to see it. And in the back, we see Hans and Wei also, fighting it out. And on the right, you see Wesley as well.
Yes, and is that Vidit, I want to say?
Yes, that is with it.
Just up front there.
Maybe we should have taken a picture and asked the chat, like, how many grandmasters can you name?
Very high ELO average as well there. Speaking of fans, Sahaj, we've got very cool surprises for our fans. There's a big giveaway going on. And the question is, tell us your favorite player here at the Tata Steel Chess India without telling us your favorite player. And tweet that answer to us using hashtag TSCI2026. So tell us your favorite player without telling us your favorite player. And the winner will get a diamond membership at chess.com. But Sahaj, not just that. Check this out. There's a lot to check out. You also win 4 t-shirts, I believe. It says your weapon, some really cool Tata Steel Chess t-shirt. I'm going to go really quickly with this.
Let's choose your weapon, by the way.
Yes. So all of this coming your way, that's a lot. I think I want to enter this competition right now. So actually hold this for
Yes,
me.
I'm actually thinking about it myself. And I will say what my thing was. Maybe you can just put a bow and an arrow.
Then there's this cap. There you go. You can win this as well.
There we go.
And then there's a black and white Tata Steel Chess India cap.
And this is something I believe.
At my hair. A very cool chess keychain. Need to get back to chess really quickly. And there is a surprise gift in here which I haven't opened up. Not sure what that is, but sounds like a lot. Sounds very cool and very fun. And all of this.
All of this? No, it's fine.
Okay, you want to keep it?
Yes, I'm keeping this. So
Oh, you're just keeping it.
I'm keeping
So
this.
all of this you can win. Enter, tell us who is your favorite player without telling us your favorite player. Twitter is where you want to be at, hashtag TSCI2026. And with that, we return to TSCI2026. Sahaj, Arjun, who's found his form on day 2. And speaking of form, he's also potentially hinting at Rook G8, G4 coming for Arvind's king.
I think Rook G8 and G4 is the key to this position.
Ooh, nicely done. Very nicely done, Sahaj.
Yeah, Rook G8. I'm still not
Will
giving
you
it
also
back.
say that Rook G8, G4 is the key to the position? No cap?
Wow. Wow. No cap, indeed. Speaking of no caps, what is Arvind's best move here?
Yeah, that's a very tough question. I will just say one thing, that I would want to be black in this position, even though it's level right now and Arvind has no weaknesses. It just feels like with little time on the clock, you don't want to be facing an attack, and the clock exactly tells you how difficult it is to find a move if you're white.
Absolutely. I think it's very, very difficult to come up with a move for white here. And for black, this is, I think, looking really simple. You just want to go Rook G8, G4, like you mentioned a bit earlier.
You want to find a move worth your money or dollar.
Just feels like
No.
white is welcoming this idea of Rook G8 and G4.
All right, that's Rook G8 and G4 is very much what Arjun has in mind, and clearly for Arvind, he wants to place the knight on E3 to fight that, to also aim at the light squares which have opened up. Saj, let's go to our women's section before we circle back to our other leaders in the Open.
One game or one bar that really strikes to me is the match between Carissa Yip and Vantika Agrawal, because Vantika's, firstly, her pawn is on H4, and secondly, she has a very big advantage, if not a winning one.
Oh, wow.
There is G5 incoming in this position, which also felt natural to me. Like, wow.
And it was Nana who beat Karissa in the previous round. And that was quite a win by Nana with the white pieces. Carissa's first loss in the tournament. And this one suddenly with the white pieces under pressure.
Yeah, I feel like that first loss, takes you off your game. And maybe that's what we're saying. Generally speaking, Carissa Yip does not get into worse positions after move 11, right?
She's a very aggressive player. She doesn't like to be on the defense. And here it's Vantika who is expanded with h4, but it feels quite complicated because often these kind of positions also feel like you've overextended.
Right. Right. So I think a very difficult position for Carissa Yip. Vantika, who loves, I think, aggressive chess, she can play g5 in this position and launch an attack on the king. Any other games that feel interesting to you?
Let's check in with our leader, Kateryna Lagno, playing with the black pieces against Stavroula. And look at the weird pawn formation that's there. It is so symmetrical. There you've got 4 pawns on the e file, a double-double.
Double. Amazing. And then we have the same knights over here as well. The only difference in this position is that white's knight is on d2 and black's knight is on 6, which honestly doesn't make much of a difference.
You know what I want to see happen is queen e7, rook e1, rook e8. And then I'm happy. That's going to be peak commentary.
Absolutely. All the pieces on the central
You got to
file.
place it. You got to make it happen.
Okay. Rook queen e7, rook e1. Let's go rook a8. And there we go. No, actually, let's make it even more symmetrical. We can go rook e1, rook e8, rook f1, and a6. There. Just that knight on d2 is kind of looking...
Yes, but you get the drift, chat. So this one, quite a balanced position so far. Although the kings are castled on opposite sides, so I highly doubt it'll stay balanced for too long. And just as I say, there's a break in the center. Sahaj, I want to check in with Harika versus Goryachkina because Harika is doing some very fun stuff on the king side.
I don't know what's the obsession with g5 today. With every player just going for this g5, g4 and just going for the attack with the black pieces.
Look at those pawns. d5, e5, f5, g5, h5. It's everything 5.
You know what to do now. You can play c5. Oh wait, it's black to play. Let's play a5 first, c5 and b5, and we have another position like this.
Beautifully done. All right. On that note, let's circle back to our open section. Harika's position, very double-edged. This one is. Sahaj, where do you want to start?
I mean, Arvind versus Arjun also looks kind of interesting because he has sort of set up that king h8, rook g8, g4, the key idea in black's position. And now g4 is incoming. He takes the knight on e3. And now g4, by the way, is a very, very real possibility.
Did go for the plan that we were mentioning. I mean, this is exactly what he did against rook g8, g4 is exactly what he did against Vishy as well.
Yeah.
You know, opening up the G line, putting that king on h8. So it looks like it's one of Arjun's favorite trick in the book.
Exactly.
To get the attack going with the black pieces.
With black, just play g5. With white, just play g4. I remember his game where it was in the QGD with the white pieces. He played g4. Black just took it, and then he just played just with one pawn less, and he just completely crushed. This happened in the Global Chess League, by the way. Beautiful game. This is Arjun's go-to.
And it looks like Arjun is going towards a fight that he wants to play for a win. Let's move back to Vishy versus Murzin. Saj, we thought Vishy's position looked very comfortable. He has the better bishop, better light squared bishop, which cannot be challenged. And he's offering a rook right now. Knight takes rook. He's looking at picking that piece up with his bishop and then winning the rook on a8.
Do you take the rook on a8? Like if, let's say, first of all, for everyone, queen takes c2 is not possible. Because I will just capture this and the rook on a8 falls for free. So black has to play something like queen c7. And now my question is, do I have to take this rook on a8? Because to be honest, I like my bishop more.
You just want to play down on exchange and say that you're playing for the domination of that light squared bishop in the center.
Pretty much. So like c3 is a nice move. Just try to stabilize the position. Maybe then you can throw some h4, h5. I don't know. It looks kind of interesting.
Yeah, and we'll get our players on the screen as well. Vishy versus Murzin.
And he, by the way, he does not take on d5. He goes rook a, b8. So he wants to...
Did Vishy voluntarily play rook d5 or was there a trade? Can you just back up and... Because I find this so fascinating.
So this trade happened. Bishop f6, knight f6. And then he went knight to d5. Black played bishop takes d5.
Now... With the rook.
I think it was forced, yeah, to an extent, because if you went bishop takes d5, then the c2 pawn will hang in the later stage. Takes and then c2 pawn hangs.
So the idea when he played knight d5, the beauty is that he wanted to capture it with the rook.
Yes, exactly. Beautiful moves. But he goes rook a b8, and now another question for Vishy is that do you want to sacrifice that rook or not? Because you can play something like c3 and offer the exchange, but looks like a very difficult decision, honestly, to me.
I'm just comparing the two bishops, and one has the feeling, the stronghold on d5, the light squared bishop being stronger, that Vishy is the one with the edge in this position.
Yes, the light square bishops, I think, enough said.
Yes.
Light square bishops are just too strong in this position.
All
Also
right,
the
so
time, 5-minute difference.
once again, Vishy up on the clock.
Lightning
Incredible
kid.
clock management.
Lightning kid for a reason.
Really. And you know, this moniker of Lightning Kid came to Vishy in the 80s. And that's what is so amazing about it. At that time, no one could even envision that speed chess would become such a massive part of the chess ecosystem.
Absolutely.
And he always was naturally gifted at how fast he played, the speed with which he played, how quick he was at finding those tactics.
You can see, I mean, with every single game that he's playing, he's at least having a 2 or 3 minute advantage against every one of his opponents, which is not an easy thing to do.
All right, so Vishy looking good in his fight against Volodar on this. Sahaj, let's check in with Vidit against Nihal.
Absolutely. And by the way, after that, we should also check Wesley, because looks like he's having a nice advantage with the white pieces. He could be one of the leaders, but here is a game between Nihal and Vidit. Looks equalish. There is an Alekhines gun on the board. To be honest, I mean, practically, I like Nihal's chances more, but okay, I know Vidit, he's going to be super solid here.
I thought the Alekhines gun was the 3 majors on the same file.
Yeah, but this is the modern Alekhines gun.
Oh, sorry.
Exactly.
When did
Alekhines.
the Neo Alekhines gun come into existence?
It is the key for everything these days.
All right.
But have you never heard this Queen's Queen on A1 and Bishop B2 as being Alekhines gun?
So what I know of the Alekhines gun, because I am a bit of a fossil in the chess world, a bit of a traditionalist, that you'd have the 2 rooks in front and the queen behind the 2 rooks, and that would be termed as the Alekhines gun, because that's the most powerful way to control a file.
Or a diagonal. Got you there.
Chat, you tell us, is there an actual modern version of the Alekhines gun that exists or not? Because I don't feel like trusting the guy on my right now. All right, but let's come back to the position. He does have the bishop and the queen battery on eyeing the g7 spot there. But it just feels like black's position is too healthy. Vidit doesn't have any weaknesses. I don't think there's any reason with the bishop on e4 to be worried about if you're black here.
I think there is some pressure on the g7 pawn for sure. I mean, this Alekhines gun looks very, very dangerous to deal with as black. I don't know.
Would you say that the battery is really powered up?
Yeah. I mean, I think the Alekhines gun is just too powerful in this position. As he takes, look at him. He knows what it is. He is completely vacating that diagonal. And with it, I think practical problems for sure.
And we're being told we've got close to 6,500 people watching us across channels right now. So huge shout out to our chat who are on this ride of Tata Steel Chess India. But when you got a feel like that, when you got the action like that, where else would you want to be but here?
Exactly. In Kolkata.
In Kolkata. If you're in Kolkata, you've got to come and watch the action live at the Dhanadhanya Auditorium. Otherwise, like Sahaj says, just book a ticket.
Exactly. Simple. And then we can debate about this Alekhines gun.
All right. Well, let's debate about another position right now. Sahaj.
How about Wesley versus Pragg? Because I feel Pragg is in some trouble here. And Wesley has had a pretty good day so far, 1.5 out of 2. If he wins this match, he will definitely be one of the leaders.
What a crazy position, non-standard position this is, right? Wesley, who is so solid, has gone h3, g4, weakening his king side there. The f file is open. Pragg, for some reason, didn't capture towards the center. Sahaj, to make sense of this, I think we have to backtrack. We need to start from the beginning.
Okay, let's go back. This was the position e4. Okay, so we had a French on the board. He takes on d5. Interesting decision. Knight f3, bishop d6, plays c4. I believe this is where we left the position where when Wesley pushed c5 and he pushed, he retreated his bishop back to e7. And then after this, black had gone b6. We took on b6, pawn takes b6, short castle, bishop g4. So far, I think pretty normal. If black can take on f3, but I'm not really sure if this is a good decision. I would honestly go bishop h5 and keep the tension with the knight on f3, even though I like the weakness that it creates with the d4 pawn. Black goes bishop h5, and this is where Wesley does not give him a second chance. He goes g4, kicks the bishop away. Black plays bishop g6, and now knight e5. Super aggressive, plays c5. Sort of breaking in the center. White goes bishop b5, takes, pawn takes, and now queen takes d4. Pretty much f takes g6 was the problem. And you know why this was a problem, Tanya?
F takes g6 was the problem because the other pawn taking on g6
would not have moved the golden pawn. It's time and time again and again.
about the golden pawn.
It's all about the golden pawn. Plays f takes g6. It opens a file, but moves away the golden pawn. And now,
And it has a question mark.
exactly, not even surprising. Black goes bishop c5 and now queen d3, knight bd7, and this is the current position. Wesley having a slight advantage.
But you know, I understand that. You've got the bishop pair, it's an open position. d5 is weak, knight takes pawn is a threat. But with the weakened king that Wesley has, it still feels that Pragg is going to be looking for those tricks. It can't be super easy. And by the way, he's played bishop f4, lining it up against the rook, taking advantage of the fact that the knight cannot jump from there because d5 hangs with a check. So knight takes pawn, you've got queen d5 check.
Nice. So knight, if I go knight takes pawn here, you mean? Or you mean knight takes g4 here?
Yes.
Then queen takes d5 check, yeah. And then you win the d7 knight. Although this is hanging, but you can take hg4 as well. So seeing this, Tanya, do you know what the best move for black is? If not knight g4? Very crazy, because you would expect black to be super aggressive here, right? Because white's king is unsafe with this pawn on g4.
He's made a move, by the way. He's made a decision.
And that was the best move, king h8. Wow.
King h8, just sidestepping, knight takes pawn, and the queen jumping in with a check. So with the bishop hanging on f4, you can't really take it. So Sahaj, can we sum this up as a chaotic position, but Wesley with a better pawn formation, with the two bishops, perhaps the one with the advantage here?
Yes, I think that is a nice way to summarize it. So,
But far from over.
Far from over here. Still good chances for Wesley, but yeah.
I'm being informed that in our women's section, Rakshita, a player that we've been so impressed with, is having a very good position currently against Vaishali. She's playing with the white pieces, but looking at it, I am inclined to not believe that. And the reason I say it's sad because Vaishali has control on the A line and she's eyeing B4 at the right time. It's in fact a threat. Her last move, rook A8, B4 incoming, which would create so much activity against the white pawns.
No,
I like white's position.
I absolutely.
black's position, sorry.
I would absolutely hate to play this as white.
Yes.
There is no chance to play for a win.
Yes.
If black just sits and waits, there is no plan for white basically. And also, let's not forget the idea of g5, which has been the highlight of today. So Vaishali, I think, looking very good, but her time is less, so anything is possible.
By the way, Vantika's board is completely nuts. Completely crazy. What on earth is even happening here? King's castled opposite side. Vantika's a pawn on h4, a pawn on c3, breaking open her own king. White's queen has managed to get all the way in. It better not get trapped. Rook g8. Luckily, you've got this f6 square offering a trade.
Right. There is also rook takes g2 check, knight takes e5 check, something like this on the cards as well.
This just looks like white should be lost for some reason. You know, and you're not... What's the material count here? You're not even down a pawn.
What?
You're not even down a pawn if you're... Am I doing it right?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
If you're Vantika here...
Blunder.
And this is how difficult it is. Because right now, Vantika will start coming for that white king. Bishop takes pawn, blunder alert. But what's the knockout?
It's bishop takes a6 first, which honestly is a bit weird to me. Rook takes a6, rook g8, and for some reason queen f6 is not a good move here.
I mean, that's the only square. Oh, you have to go rook a8 check here.
Oh no, this is not easy. This is not easy at all. In fact, she has to go queen takes b4 here. No ways that you take the pawn on b4, right?
Why not?
Because I mean, you're focused on the king side completely. I think maybe taking something like queen f6 is what I would do, but I think in the long
we have
term,
moves, by the way. Vantika didn't trade on a6 ad, so none of this has happened.
she goes rook g8, bishop b7 and king b7. She's still winning.
Queen f6 will be played. It's on the board, in fact. I am trying to find a way to keep the queens on the board, but the only way to do that is get the queen to f8, and I don't believe that's where you want it.
There's only one move here that is winning for Vantika, and that is c2.
What? Wow. Wow.
Very crazy
That is
position.
impressive if she just forgets about everything that's happening on the right flank and suddenly focuses her attention and says, I'm creating a passer one move away from queening. But once
honestly,
you see it, you can't unsee it.
I would just play h3 or something, but that's a bad move because it connects white's pawns on the king side.
Also, I wonder if you need to be a little careful of a move like b5, Sahaj. Because I want to point out that C2, B5, what is your resource here? Because queen takes queen, pawn takes knight with a check.
Ooh. So the move is queen c5. So simple, right?
I mean, this is the key line then. You're giving the knight on c6, you're giving the pawn on f7, and you're just saying that you are winning because...
Queen takes c6 and now the rook on a4 hangs and there is a checkmate.
By the way, moves, of course, understandably, Vantika, you see b5 and you stop your calculation.
Yes, basically. Very difficult to play over the board. She takes on f6 and ef6 and this means Carissa Yip is more or less back. Vantika has less than 2 minutes on the clock.
Alright, so Carissa Yip with a fighting chance in this one, but Vantika will continue pushing. She picks up the f6 pawn as well, and currently she is up a pawn right now. Not even actually, it's even material. It's 5 versus 5. C3 is about to get traded off. Alright, Saj, let's go back to our men's section. We'll come back to this. And Pragg versus Wesley. Not much has happened.
Yeah, Wesley's still thinking. He's under 4 minutes. Difficult decision though. I mean, moves like bishop g3 really feel interesting. What should Wesley do? Why is he taking such a long time here? Bishop g3 just feels natural, no here?
Yeah, he's been thinking for a while. We did a whole world trip in Tata Steel Chess India women, came back and no, Wesley did make a move because I just saw Pragg blitz out.
He did play bishop g3 by the way. d4 happens, knight a4 and then knight d5 happens.
He's down to now 3.5 minutes, and I like the progress that Pragg has made,
Progress?
He brings the nicely done. The progress in the position is strong. Knight f4 coming in.
Only move by the way for Pragg. Otherwise, he's almost busted.
Speaking of almost busted, Vishy has made progress in his game against Murzin. So checking back in on that, we're talking about this light squared bishop that Vishy has. The crowning jewel in the position, it still stands tall on that d5 square. He's now rerouting his knight from e1 to c2 to e3.
And then move the bishop away. It has done its job and then we put the knight on d5. Beautiful.
He stopped this idea of b4, placing the knight on c2 is also prophylactic. He's not giving Murzin any counterplay because b4 would involve trades, opening up the lines. Why allow that? Right now, Vishy with a good strategic positional advantage.
Yep, and a great time advantage as well. 9 minutes. Murzin having less than a minute in this position.
Unbelievable. That is huge. Actually, that is the biggest call in this position. Is not the board, but the clock.
You can see Murzin is very, very careful, super alert to not make a mistake in time crunch situation. And now for Vishy, very, very simple moves.
Seconds for Murzin. I mean, if he doesn't survive this, Vishy takes the win. He ends day 2 once again as a leader.
Crazy. Huge if true. And now I think, Vishy is definitely leading. Has a very good chance of winning the game. Any other game that looks interesting to you, Tanya?
There's a lot of trades on the Nihal Sarin Vidit board, but maybe we quickly hop onto that because more pieces are about to come up and I think we're safely guiding it towards an endgame draw.
But I think Nihal has a slightly better knight on e5. But yeah, more or less a draw, yeah? Just you take, play rook c1. Maybe Nihal will play for a little bit, but very hard to beat with it in these types of strategic positions.
But I hear you because at the end of all those trades, it will be Nihal with the open C line control, a slightly better knight on e5. And the question will be just how ambitious Nihal is feeling. Last round of the day, does he want to continue fight? Does he want to kind of make Vidit sweat a bit? But healthy position for Vidit as well.
I mean, firstly, he has won both of his rounds today.
Yeah.
Once against Hans and then Volodar Murzin. So there is this motivation to end the day with a perfect run.
He takes on c5.
Yeah, and now rook c1, very important.
But then the black queen lines up on c7.
Then you just take on c5 basically. And then put the knight on d3. I think this is not an easy position for Vidit.
And then you plant your queen at the center of the board on e5.
Exactly.
So swapping the squares there. So Vidit suffering just a little bit, but probably no big weaknesses that it should be so hard to hold this. Saj, let's check in with... Oh, by the way, Arjun versus Arvind getting very fun.
Oh, Arjun, I think is slightly better here, if I'm not mistaken. Can I take on? I cannot take on f7 because h4 is hanging.
Sorry.
So bishop f7, bishop takes f7 is hanging. That pawn is basically poisoned. But it's Arjun who has to make a move. Rook g4 looks very interesting to me. Let's have it on the board. Putting some pressure on e4 and maybe the h4 knight as well. Not so easy for Arvind, yeah?
You know, we've got the bars there right below. There's only one game where we see this advantage for the players, and that is the Vishy board, where Vishy is pushing for the win against Murzin. Everything else in the balance in the open in this final round.
Oh yeah. And also 22 seconds for Murzin. There is no way that you can survive this. It would take a miracle for him to save this, right? Just because of the time situation. And look at him, he's so calm. So he makes a slight inaccuracy there with rook c7 and now knight e3. Your plan, Tanya? And putting the knight on d5 eventually.
Vishy reroute the knight. It does give the possibility to try to break open with b4. So maybe that's something that you want to calculate before removing your knight from c2. Vishy reaching for it. He's going for it.
Yeah, he plays it.
And is Murzin going to try to look for counterplay with b4? He says no. Right now he first controls the king side.
He's completely, fixing everything on the king side. So it's easier to make moves, easier to make hand moves.
21 seconds versus 7 minutes, 7.5 minutes here. Vishy keeping up the pace. He doesn't slow down just because he has more time on the clock. He's now looking at planting his knight there.
A little bit of hesitation from Vishy there. He went bishop a2 and then chose bishop b3 instead.
It's also a move that provokes a4. You want your opponent to play a4, fix that pawn structure, take away any hope of b4, and then you can also look at striking with b3 at the right time. So
yes.
Provocation there.
Great point there, provoking a4. Yeah, this is such high level stuff. And now queen f3, defending the pawn on e4. At some point, Vishy has to go knight d5, I'm assuming. It's a good bishop versus bad bishop, typical, yeah?
But I will point out that opposite color bishops have a drawing tendency. So you still have to find a breakthrough. It's not going to be easy. Right now, e4 under attack, Vishy might be forced to plant that knight and trade off the pieces.
Does it?
Which he does. So we have a pure opposite color bishop complex right now.
This bishop is not as useful. Maybe he can look for some activity with f5, but this is, I think, a very difficult position to play with the black pieces. Very difficult to hold this. Goes rook d5. He wants to exchange more pieces. Wow.
At some point, you know what Vishy is going to do? Rook takes rook, bishop takes rook. He'll switch his attention to king side. He'll go g4. He'll place his rook on h1. Let's have some arrows here, Sahaj. Imagine rook takes rook, bishop takes rook. Will happen. I can visualize rook to h1, g4 coming in, h5 striking open the king side, because that bishop on d5 dominates the position. You're really eyeing that f7 square.
I think great point there. G4 h5 is a beautiful idea. Another idea I really like is, Tanya, b4. Just to fix this pawn on b5 as well. This is exactly what you wanted to do when you said provoke a4. The same thing being applied. So this pawn on b5 could be a problem.
Yes.
And the position is not right when we can come up with two different plans and both of them look so amazing for white, and your opponent has 13 seconds on the clock.
And he refuses the trade. He comes back with the rook. Murzin, Vishy reaching out for his queen. He's going to start pointing it towards that b5 pawn, also opening up a potential. At some point, I believe we'll see a break on king side. It either arrives with g4 or f4. Something 4.
Prediction time by Tanya. f4 or g4 is incoming soon.
So once again, advantage Vishy it is, this position. Sahaj, meanwhile, Wesley, Pragg, crazy things are happening. Twists and turns on every single move. I'm seeing the bar go up and down.
He plays h4. His idea is to play g5 and he wants to open up the h file completely to attack this king on h8. And now you can see from the blue arrow, this is the game between Wesley So and Pragg. So if you can have that on the board. The only move for Pragg here is to play rook to a5. Not easy for Pragg. Oh, he plays it. Beautiful timing there. Wesley in trouble, right?
Wesley finding Finding himself in a position where the pieces defend themselves, but they're being attacked right now. That bishop needs to stay connected to the knight. It just feels like Black's king is very safe. You know, the d pawn, a passer, the queen ready to jump into a square depending on where the bishop moves. You can only really move it to c6.
Yeah, but then g4 is not hanging, by the way. There's rook e8 check. Queen c6 could be a plan here, but looks like Wesley has missed this.
He made a move. You know, he hasn't made a decision yet. Wesley So under 2 minutes now. Sahaj Pragg under a minute. This is time trouble territory for both these players. Nihal Sarin, Vidit Gujrathi in the balance right now. Wei Yi, Hans Niemann also an equal position. Vishy with an advantage against Murzin. Praggnanandhaa pushing against Wesley So. Arjun Erigaisi, Aravindh, crazy position, but it's 0.0 according to Abba.
Wow. But Arvind having some slight time issues. Do you want to check out what's happening there?
Let's do it. Arjun Erigaisi making a strong comeback on day 2.
Oh, he goes queen g4 in this position after queen d8. Queen e2, by the way, was winning for Arjun almost. And now Arvind having 20 seconds on the clock. Golden opportunity. Plays rook f2. Nice move defending the pawn on g2. And now it is up to Arjun. He cannot attack the e3 pawn. I think he was banking on the fact that he can take on e4. And I'm still wondering why can't he take on e4? There is something.
Looking for his hat trick here, you know, he's looking for a 3 in a row. Starting the day with 2 out of 2 after 2 back-to-back losses on day 1.
But for Arvind also, it has been 4 losses in a row. So it's...
Arvind hasn't had a single win. He's on half out of 5.
1 draw against Pragg and then 5 losses. That's a problem.
Okay, Saj, let's go back to Vishy's board. We've been talking about his positional advantage. But Murzin, he's still keeping things under defense. He's offering a queen trade right now, denied by Vishy.
You were
saying
right,
you don't
by the
have
way.
time.
You were right, by the way. G4 has happened.
It was the plan that it just looks, especially with all the majors of black on the left side, you want to open up on the other side. And look at how Vishy is playing on the light squares, on the color of his bishop. The king, the queen, the 2 rooks, all of them placed on light squares. And the computer points out it's another light square you need to play on.
Rook h3 defends the pawn and plays it. Now...
He's going h5. It's not just a defensive move, it's an attacking move as well, Sahaj. And he's reaching for it. It happens.
Wow.
Vishy's going all out on the king side.
Very, very difficult. Black can play rook h8 though to try and pin this rook. But it's maybe a little bit too late.
The thing is, with 8 seconds, it's so hard to defend this kind of a position, this ambush that you have.
He goes rook h8 with 4 seconds on the clock. Now rook d3, only move for Vishy. He plays it. Wow.
You know what he wants to do? He wants to now target the f7 weakness. He's just overloading black across the board. He wants to go rook f3 next. Pawn takes pawn is a big threat. Now that the rook defends the other rook. And Murzin struggling on the clock and the board.
You cannot take on h5 because this file is just going to be very, very dangerous.
But he does it. He's gone for it.
Wow.
Pawn h pawn has been played, Sahaj. Vishy lines up against f7.
But he touched the rook, the d rook that is.
And took it back. He placed it on f3 even.
Rook dg3 is winning actually because you're winning the b5 pawn.
And ignore the clock. It's going to get updated. We can see on our cameras that it's Vishy to move. Murzin did make a move on time and he finds it. He finds the precise move, pushes the king back, and he's going for the other pawns on the other side. And this is chess, right? You overload your opponent on one flank and you strike on the other. He forced all of Murzin's pieces on the king side only to win it on the queen side.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of, he can just chop queen a5 as well. And then just be in the a pawns. You just push them all the way. Nice. Nice conversion by Vishy, I think. Completely winning.
He does it. He checks that the rook doesn't have any dangerous discovered attacks with the bishop lined up. But that's not possible. No coordination between Murzin's forces here. He attacks the rook on g3.
Maybe you can play rook g4 or rook f3.
Slide it up.
Actually, no. You're supposed to go queen a8 in this position, which is...
But is that the only move?
One of the only moves, actually. Because h4 is not really a threat, yeah? Because you don't have to move the rook. Just play queen d5. But queen a8 is the most precise out of all of them.
I mean, if Vishy just ignores that threat, says the queen is pinned, and goes on counter offense, I don't even know how much more we can be impressed. But look at that, Sahaj. He's reaching for the queen.
Wow.
Pulls his hand back and he places it at the center. Also a very strong move. It also eyes the d6 pawn. Rook f3 will now come with double, triple power even on the f7 square.
Exactly. And now it's complete domination by Vishy there. 24 seconds for Murzin. This is such a difficult situation to be in. Let's not forget black can never play rook c5 because queen f7 is a checkmate.
Also, such crazy position in Wesley versus Praggnanandhaa. I don't know if we have time to just quickly check in with that. Maybe just for a few seconds and we'll come straight back here. Yeah, there's a pawn on d2, one step away from queening. Meanwhile, there's a fire on that right side.
Gives the check, queen g2, okay. Is it going to be a repetition? Okay, Wesley is a piece up right now. That's an important detail here.
Yes, he's up a piece and he's threatening a lot with that f-pawn. Pragg gives a check.
Now queen f3 perhaps, only move. Anything else is losing for him. Queen f3 played. Now it is 10 seconds.
9, 8,
Oof.
7, 6.
No.
Make a move, Pragg. You gotta move. You gotta. What did he do?
What?
What did he do? Oh my goodness. He doesn't make a move in time. There was absolute confusion there by Pragg.
Wow, he stopped the clock because he didn't have enough time to promote.
He has 1 second left right now. He hasn't been flagged, but you're not allowed to stop the clock like this, Sahaj.
Exactly.
The arbiter is going to give the point to Wesley.
I think so as well. I think maybe Magnus had a very similar situation where his queen fell off the board in the World Blitz, and then I think at that moment everyone was saying he should have stopped the clock, but in this case the queen is still present on the board. So he should not have stopped the clock there. Some drama incoming.
Pragg there was hesitation, there was confusion there. Let's go back to that board as we see what's happening with the players. We see our chief arbiter, Anand Raman there. And you're just not allowed to stop the clock. He had 1 second, he panicked. He didn't make his move. Wesley will get the point here.
I think so as well, but they're just trying to explain the situation to them. I'm not sure what is the...
Can we go back to the player's camera angle?
There
The
it is.
arbiter in front. And
wow.
that's it. And with that...
No. They took a draw. Wait.
Okay, this
is a bit strange. Was this Wesley just being nice in a sense and not taking the...
Okay, this makes absolutely no sense to us, to anyone here, but we will get an update. We'll hopefully have Rakesh ask all the big questions and really understand what happened there, and we'll let you know as soon as we find out, because I was just expecting the arbiter to give the point to Wesley.
I think so as well. I mean, that would make the most sense. There it is. There is Rakesh. He's going to ask all the important questions very, very soon. But yeah, that was strange.
And the reason we say that it ended in a draw is because the placement of the king at the very end right there. Pragg stopping the clock without making his move. There was a bit of hesitation by him. He couldn't reach out for the piece. He saw his clock come down to a second and then pauses it. Wesley claiming. The arbiter eventually, there was a little bit of a discussion. Then the king's placed at the center, signaling that a draw has been given.
No idea what happened.
No idea. It makes absolutely no sense. We will find out, chat, and we'll let you know. But let's get back to the action. Vishy versus Murzin. Vishy has got 3 pawns unchallenged on the left side.
Wow. So A, B, and C. I think the A pawn probably is the strongest out of all of them, but there is bishop f4 check, which is a problem here. What happens after bishop f4 check? Can I go rook takes f4? Because Vishy is inviting this. Difficult situation for Murzin. He has 5 seconds on the clock. Don't stop the clock. Plays h3. And now queen g4. Very important move. Pinning the bishop, taking the pawn on h3. Goes for the queen. Plays queen g4. Beautiful game by Vishy. Plays f6. Must be a mistake. Golden pawn.
But he had to defend the bishop. It couldn't have moved. The queen was pinned on g6, and Vishy is about to retreat the rook, open up that diagonal for a queen infiltration on c8. Not just that, queen c8, queen g8, everything coming on 8.
Queen c8 is so deadly here, and rook f3 is such a nice move as well.
He also hit the h3 pawn.
Yeah. This is just GG. This is basically just GG. By the way, Hans has defeated Wei Yi with the black pieces. That's an update.
That's a comeback win by Hans.
And Arjun has drawn his match against Arvind. So 3 games are finished, including the game of Wesley and Pragg. And only 2 remain between Nihal and Vidit.
And Nihal is the one who is in fact pushing in that endgame side. This is something you had called, that it's not as easy as it looks at first sight for Vidit.
Absolutely. Let's take a very quick look at what's happening. Wow, is he winning?
It's a knight and pawn endgame, this one.
It's a nightmare.
I think we should switch back and maybe come back to this.
Because Vishy is going to finish much faster, yeah? Probably. Also, Murzin having 10 seconds on the clock. Plays rook h4. There's a check incoming on c8.
It's a big check. Murzin will be forced to drop back his queen, I want to say, but he goes forward with his king. That's brave.
I mean, there's so many checks in this position.
Can you go c4? No, there's bishop f4. There's a
queen.
bishop f4, queen g2 idea, Sahaj.
Yeah, but queen e6, queen d6 would hang with a check.
Yes, pick up everything with a check. If you go c4, you actually lose on the spot. Bishop f4, queen g8 is a check. Queen g2 is a checkmate.
Ooh.
He goes with queen e6.
Queen e6, nice move, because now queen d6 will happen with a check. King f8 happens. Now queen takes d6, very nice move, smooth conversion so far. Now the king has to move somewhere, whether it's e8 or g7.
Winning the
Blacklist
pawns
king e8.
with a check. Vishy, he's got 2 minutes on the clock to work this out. Because there's a big threat that Murzin has set up, right? It's coming with a check. He's coming for white's king in a forcing manner.
Now just Vishy has to find the sequence of moves that will exchange the queens, and that's it.
Okay, he gives another check.
This is
King f8.
kind of reminds me
Vishy
of the
will
game
not
against...
repeat. He won't repeat. He's reaching out for the h3 pawn.
Oh yeah, beautiful move there, because after rook takes h3, the queen defends the h3 square.
Yes, and bishop f4, you simply slide your king cool and calm to h1. And there's no attack to speak of.
Beautiful.
You know, Vishy continuing to play, not going for the repetition against Hans. Here as well, just going for the win.
And we'll have, I think, from what it looks like, it is Nihal and Vishy who are going to be at the leaderboard.
While Vishy ended day 1 at the top, for Nihal to make this comeback on day 2, have this strong performance here.
So good.
And I've seen this happen in chess so many times. And there it is, Vishy Anand finishing the day at the top, gets another win. That's 2 back-to-back victories. That you've got to love it. You've got to love seeing this happen. What a tournament it's been so far for Vishy Anand. He beats a former world rapid champion, Volodar Murzin.
I think I'm at a loss of words at how well and how convincing the games have been for Vishy so far, but
you
he's also a
know,
world rapid
Sahaj,
champion.
when Anand became a world champion, Murzin was not even born.
Oh. That's a very, very crazy stat to think about. By the way, we have one more game remaining between Nihal and Vidit, and Nihal looking to join Vishy at the leaderboard at the first position. He's on 3.5. He's winning. He has a knight endgame, 2 pawns extra. The pawns on f5 and h2. But can he convert this? Is the question. Goes h3. Very clinical, yeah? So clinical.
Very nicely. 2 extra pawns. Will start pushing the black king away, get his own king active.
Good. And you just give a check. I mean, Nihal has 14 seconds on the clock. He has to play fast. Feel for Murzin. I hope he gets back in form. Us too, I think, for Murzin, this has been a pretty sad tournament so far.
But it's a brutal field, you know, and that's what happens in these elite competitions with the very best in the world. If there's a player struggling, he often gets a mark on his back and gets targeted. And I think we're seeing all these players sort of go all out against Murzin, against Arvind right now. It might be a completely different story in the blitz.
No, yeah, for sure. I think the blitz is a completely different game.
And you know, there's still a final day with 3 games coming up. Who knows, Arvind and Murzin might play spoiler to to some of the players' dreams of finishing on the podium.
That is definitely possible. And it's crazy actually. She's on 4.5 out of 6. I mean,
Amazing.
wow.
It is amazing. And Nihal also just showing great technique there, and with nothing left to do than resign as the F-pawn. Unstoppable moves forward there. And there we see the players analyzing with Nihal Sarin on fire in Kolkata.
Smooth conversion with that queen knight endgame. Nihal just completely outplayed, and beating Vidit in that endgame is definitely not an easy task. But we have one more game remaining, Tanya. That is Carissa Yip versus Vantika Agrawal, and guess what? Carissa Yip is winning.
It is a crazy position, and she's calculated all of it. It's 2 pawns versus the rook. The king will simply march towards that black rook, and Carissa will take the win against Vantika. Vantika with a strong opening performance. I think she's about to resign any moment. Those 2 pawns cannot be stopped.
Absolutely. 2 seconds, she gives another check. King f6, and we'll have very soon a queen on the board. 5 seconds. I think a resignation is underway here. There
I
it
wonder
is.
if there is, and there we have it, the final game of round 3. Vantika resigns. Beautifully played in this endgame.
Yeah, I mean,
Carissa.
I can't believe how Carissa Yip have turned it around so quickly against Vantika, and I mean she is almost back on the leaderboard with that. She has 4 points, but Kateryna Lagno is the one who's right now leading the charge. She, at the end of the day, she was one of the leaders, and now she is at sole position with 4.5 out of 6, and followed by we have Carissa Yip at 4 and Nana at 3.5. Nana made a good recovery after her first game loss. And then we have Vantika at 3. She just lost her match. And then Harika, Stavroula, and Vaishali and Rakshita all at 2.5. And Divya, sadly, at the bottom of the leaderboard with just 2 points. Whereas for the open section, we have Vishy and Nihal. I mean, what a performance this has been from both of these players. Nihal, who was a replacement for Mukesh, showing up that he belongs in this field, dominating game after game against the best in the world. And we have, of course, Vishy showing them who's the boss.
The big boss of Indian chess, of chess really, and what an ambassador he's been to the sport. He's been an ambassador to Tata Steel Chess India, and he mentioned it in the opening ceremony that he was exhausted just coming to Kolkata and having to watch everyone play, and this time wanted to get on the board, and the style in which he's done it. Leads at the end of day 1, leads at the end of day 2, and just the players that he's taken down, and not just the scoreline, the quality of play. The one game that he lost to Arjun, also completely winning.
Completely winning. I mean, he would have had a 1.5 point lead amongst everyone else. And okay, but the same can be said for Nihal as well. He was also completely winning. But yes, both of these players, watch out for them. I think they are emerging as the favorites to win this tournament as we head into day 3. Of course, Wesley is only half a point behind them, but for Nihal and Vishy, I think it has been a spectacular event.
And Saj, there was a lot of action on board, but there was that dramatic moment that happened in the Wesley Pragg game. And chaotic position, completely crazy. It felt like draw was the least likely outcome. Pragg had a couple of seconds on the clock. I'm not exactly sure of how much time he had at that moment, but the final...
1 second.
But that was right before he stopped the clock. He
Right.
had a few seconds to make that move. Wanted to reach out and promote into a queen. He tried to reach for the queen, he couldn't find it. His clock kept ticking down, and when it came to a second is when he stopped the clock. He had found the queen by then, but he stopped the clock with 1 second on the clock. And Wesley, we're getting an update that Wesley claimed the win at that point
Yes.
to the arbiter, because you're not allowed to do that. You can't just stop the clock without making a move. The arbiter did intervene, and then they agreed for a draw which was offered by Wesley. Pragg's, and here we have that moment. Shout out to our producer for putting this out, and this is where it happened. Okay, we can't get an update on the clock from this angle, but this is the final moments. You can see the white queen there, but he needs a black queen,
Yeah.
which is actually right there as well.
Wesley makes a move, and then on the next move, Pragg has to look for a queen.
And you look far enough,
Is
you
the
see
queen
that
in his
deep one.
hand? Wait a second. Is that queen in his hand? No, it's
No, I
not.
think this is still a few moments away from that point we're talking about, Sahaj.
Yeah, I think we keep going. He moves the queen,
And again,
Pleasure,
this
pleasure.
was recorded by, I believe, Rakesh's camera. So this is the angle that we have to go through these moments, these final few moments. We will bring that back up as those were recordings taken earlier on. And chat, we are getting live updates just as you are. And it was right here. It was right here. I wonder if we can go a little bit back.
Wow.
A little bit back, if we can just replay this, what happened. Can we play this clip one more time? There we see, he just had no time to reach for the queen. It touched 1 second, Pragg stopping the clock.
Wow.
Wesley claimed the win. There we see Wesley saying, but you've run out of time. You can't stop the clock with 1 second on. Had it gone to 0, there was no question. He would have lost.
Yes, of course. If he had gone to promote his queen, then he would have lost. But the question is, why did Wesley offer the draw? That's what was it good sportsmanship, or was he not allowed to claim a win in that scenario? Because I believe that he was. And from the info that we're getting, Wesley did claim the draw in the beginning, the win.
He did claim Wesley is one of the nicest guys on the circuit.
Yes.
If anyone would offer a draw to finish the drama, I think it would be him. But it's still very surprising with the way. I almost want to believe had Wesley not offered that draw, he would have been given the point.
I think so. I think he would have for sure. Maybe this was good sportsmanship, but we can ask them, and I think we can have a proper understanding of what actually went down.
Yeah, and then we see the final moments. Wesley saying, you know what, offer a draw on this. And Pragg agreeing with handshakes. Very dramatic final few moments there with Pragg not finding the queen on time, wanting to make that move and pausing the clock with just 1 second left.
Wow. What a turn of events, Mai. It has been absolutely insane. Still would love to know how that happened in a draw, but I think we have some
Wesley
clarity
offered
at
it.
least.
Yes, that Wesley claimed the win first, but then seeing how unclear it was, Pragg not having enough time to reach out, I think being the gentleman that he is, he said, let's just settle this peacefully.
He would have been one of the leaders had he won.
Yeah, and the thing is, what happens tomorrow? Is this going to be a decision that Wesley comes to regret?
I think only tomorrow will tell, but today I think he would, because he's half a point behind Nihal and Vishy in that sense. So I think still good sportsmanship from Wesley.
All right, well, tomorrow we'll be seeing tomorrow, but let's talk about today's action because it has been so incredibly dramatic with the results, the turnarounds, being at a point where we had 6 leaders. We end the day with only 2 at the top. And look at that, it's Vishy and Nihal. It's 2 generations of Indian chess there. And I think, Sahaj, you mentioned this, that if you had to think about the lightning kid of the golden generation, Nihal would be a name that would stand out to you.
Exactly, and now this is proof right there that he belongs right up there with the best. And yeah, for Wesley again, I think he has performed spectacularly, for today. But tomorrow decides whether he is going to regret this decision or not.
And while we've got 2 leaders at the top in the Open, we've got 1 at the top in the women. Let's bring up our standings one more time. Kateryna Lagno does end day 2 with 4.5 points, and right behind her is the 22-year-old Carissa Yip, who's got 4 US championships under her belt already. She's aggressive, she's attacking, she's fearless, and she continues her run. Nana Dzagnidze, after a loss today, bounces back to that 3rd position, and now you've got just a single player on that podium finish, the top 3.
Wow. And also, let's not forget with Carissa Yip, she had a worse position against Vantika, and then somehow she turned it around. So I think it's been a very roller coaster of a day overall in both sections.
I'm still thinking about the Pragg-Wesley matchup, right? And it just feels like drama and Tata Steel Chess India just go hand in hand. Every year we have something like this. We've seen the Vidit Magnus, we've seen the king being placed in front of the king,
Oh, yes.
the Hikaru Vidit.
That's King E3, yes, I remember that.
Somehow
one.
it's always Vidit at the end of it, but this time it was Pragg and Wesley.
Absolutely.
Wow, what a day. And Sahaj, once again, before we wrap up, going to throw it to you one more time, but I believe we also have an interview coming up very soon. Actually, we'll wait for that. We'll wait for that as it's a very special one.
Hmm.
And let's see if chat guesses who the interview is with. The player we'd all love to hear from.
That's everyone.
That's actually true. But right now, specifically true for one. Saj, as we get that interview ready, I want to ask you, what has been the highlight moment for you today? At the
I
Tata
cannot
Steel
say
Chess India?
Divya now, right? Because that was yesterday. But I think for sure this Pragg Wesley business, I would love to get like a deeper understanding of what happened. And of course, there is a match between Arjun and Vishy as well, which was a roller coaster. You know, Vishy making a blunder, Arjun making a blunder. You know, that was very topsy-turvy. So both of those, I think, are a close second. Once I get, I think, a more clarity on this Wesley, why he offered the draw, because then I think it will be easier. What about you?
But I can see Rakesh from my seat where I'm at, who was there, and I just really want to ask him that question. Do we know what happened at the end? Why Wesley offered a draw or agreed to a draw? Right, just
Wow.
Wesley being Wesley, a complete gentleman is what we were being told. Sportsman spirit there with the drama. He agreed that Pragg did not have enough time to complete that move, paused the clock, and it was Wesley who offered the peace treaty.
Wow, I mean, that's
That is really
great,
something.
great sportsmanship from Vishy.
And also the thing is, right, if you're not fighting for the top spot, it's easy to see that happen. But for Wesley, given where he is on the leaderboard,
It could hurt him tomorrow, but I think only tomorrow will tell, you know, how much this could damage him. And while, you know, people don't have to guess anymore, I'm not sure if the chat is guessing which the player is. We have an interview in front of you. Take it away.
We have Vishy Anand sir here with us, who leads going into day 2. Your thoughts on a crazy day today?
I think probably the positive and negative almost balance each other now. Yeah, but it was obviously very painful.
Yeah, round 4 was very painful, but round 5, nice win with the knight and bishop, where you dominated Hans's knight, and also a nice win in the opposite color now. Which game would you like more?
I enjoyed the win with Hans because there were several moments when I thought it was slipping away, but I think the game in the evening was higher quality.
And lastly, Vishy sir, you're back as a player now. How does it feel being the brand ambassador for so many years and making a comeback in this edition?
It feels like I'm doing something I was doing for my whole life.
Thank you so much, sir. Heading into day 3, Nihal Sarin and Vishy Anand sir lead. Let's see who wins. Back to you guys in the studio.
a comeback, but I have to say, Vishy never left the building. I mean, just it's been incredible to watch him, over the years. And Saj, just this year itself, his performance at the Jerusalem Masters, the final few games of the Global Chess League in December, and then coming and showing his incredible form here. Every round, he's going to be playing players less than half his age. We pointed it out that Vishy became world champion before Volodar Murzin was even born. And that just goes on to show the longevity of the greatness of Vishy Anand.
Absolutely. I think, I think this is one of his natural skills to be very good at fast chess. And this is why he's able to perform at the top level again and again and again. And it's a very, very impressive performance by Vishy Anand. Yeah.
And as he said it, it's been an up and down day, and he was obviously referencing his first game, the roller coaster ride that it was, winning a rook against Arjun, being exchanged up, close to a victory, and then going on to lose that with a counter blunder. But then he made up for it in a big way in the next 2 games.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that is very impressive.
All right, well, with that, I think we're going to sign off. We've got the final day of Rapid coming up for both our events, the Open and Women tomorrow. It comes down to these final 3 rounds. They'll be played tomorrow at the Dhanadanya Auditorium here in Kolkata. If you're here, you've got to watch the action live. We'll have our Rapid winner tomorrow. And Saj and I will see you then. Good night, chat.